doesn't say live. It doesn't say live. It just says scheduled. Let me just make sure.
We're live, Chad.
It doesn't say live.
Oh, we're live.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
I don't believe y'all. Let me see. What's the name of the show?
If we're live, put a 1 in the chat. How about that?
Let me see the chat. Where's the chat numbers? Oh my God. Oh, it is. All I see is
There are a lot of ones.
There's ones.
It says y'all live. Y'all, a Billy Bumba. It's a holiday. Okay, so y'all, it's one of those days. But before we start, we got something for you.
There are no excuses. And that's what I mean. If you're living behind, even if you cannot quantify it, there is something that comes along. But I use the money thing because you can immediately see this is where I am. Let's say you're 30 years old and you're not making 45. Let's say you're 30 years old and you're making $30,000. That means you need to get up in the morning and start living life with a sense of urgency. You need to start running your life like you are losing, because you are. Running, you cannot walk. You cannot even speak well. You need to start running. And understand something. The first thing is you need to be working 60 plus hours a week. Let me say that again. If you're behind, you cannot just work 60 hours a week. You need to be working closer to 80. Yeah, that's right. That's right, dude. You need to lose some goddamn sleep and get out there and bust 2 full-time jobs to get your money up. Because until you...
I want her to judge you by your wallet. That means if your wallet's lacking, if your wallet ain't where it need to be, you're going to take that L, because it's time to grow up. And over here, size matters. How fat is your wallet? What is your wallet? It is verifiable accomplishments that we all agree are worth something.
We just wanted to give a little tribute to Kevin Samuels, who unfortunately died last year during this time. So that was just a tribute to KS, the Honorable KS. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Just turn your camera off, mistaken, whenever you're
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
A Billy Bumba. A Billy Bumba. Okay, so far, because we have more panelists to come, we have the AP, Coach K, Mistaken, and Enos. My name is Shantae. My name is Shan Monet, formerly known as Shantae, and this is a Chic critique. I be forgetting like my little intros. Oh Lord. Yeah, you ain't tell nobody you was popping up today.
Well, you dropped the StreamYard, so what's going on?
Today's not the day.
Now, is this going to be, I'm pretty good. Is this going to be a relationship? And I can only say for like 30 minutes probably. Is this going to be a relationship?
It's going to be
let's drag this out.
Absolutely. I know how you like to just get in on the community, but today it's going to be all about relationships. Are you going to be here with us at least to stay, just a little while?
I can talk for a minute or two. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it, are you guys still teaching? When's the last day for you guys?
It's not until the end of the month.
Yeah, the 26th for APS.
Okay. Mistaken. Are you going to be teaching up into the last minute, into the bell on the last day?
No, I shut everything down on the 28th because I'm not in a classroom anymore. So I'll pull kids in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as needed.
Sounds good.
Are you finished? I thought you said you still dibble and dabble in a classroom every now and again.
capital N for never. No, I would. The only way I would go back into a classroom, especially if it's a inner city with black kids, they got to pay me $250,000. Like that's at minimum. Pay me $250,000. I'm too valuable as a person, black man, to get early stress, strokes, heart attacks. It's just too much of a liability. Not being for real, for a black man to be in those environments. So you got to pay me like $250,000.
So is it because you're a black man, or is it of your?
It's because the black man should not waste his life in environments where he is unappreciated and where there's no appreciation for him. The black man has been the brunt of a lot of societal brutality, if you say. We fought in wars that had nothing to do with our community. We've been undermined and thrown under the bus for generations. We don't have connections on the same level as whites do, and it's nothing. That's just I'm not knocking whites. So I feel like a black man is wasting his time if he's volunteering. And
Marcus thought you was talking about him when you said white. He gave you the
side. I'm so glad you're here. I love me some Marky Mark.
Yeah, but other than that, no. 250,000.
I just come in and chaotic saying we don't got connections like whites do. I'm trying to understand what he's talking about.
But what I'm saying is that the black man needs to enrich himself, be at the forefront like the white man is. Like I'm talking about the white man. And until then you can volunteer and teach the little nigglets all day in school.
So don't call them nigglets, but all right. So you're more W.E.B. Du Bois instead of Booker T.
I would say so, but I feel like the only way you should start helping people is when you are at the height of society. So if a white guy, hey man, I want to start a nonprofit and I want to help kids and I want to do this, hey, fine.
Why white people don't sound like that?
Well, I'm talking about white.
That's what he hears, perception.
That's how I hear when I hear white guys.
People say that. I'm like, all right, go on.
But
Sorry,
no, black men shouldn't teach or volunteer or help people out at all. Help yourself as a black man.
I don't agree with that, but
because nobody's gonna help.
Agree to disagree. But tonight we are talking about hurting people.
They
now, I guarantee that every topic is going to be on subject. But
I don't know what chaotic was saying, but I disagree. I just want to put that out there. I don't even know.
I was actually talking highly of black men. I mean, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Of course, we always like to praise our black men over here.
Yeah, but we don't really want to leave other black folks behind, though. I mean, do we?
Hey man, I ain't got nothing to do with me, man. I know when I'm on my
death, because his culture doesn't believe that. I mean, his culture doesn't. Culture. Yeah, aren't you Nigerian as well?
No, I'm an American.
Okay, but you're
don't do it, mistake.
I don't identify with
being Nigerian as well. I thought not you.
I only identify with being an American.
Okay, you only identify as being American, but what about your parents?
Ma'am, I can say the same thing about anybody on the panel. Mistaken. If you go back far enough, your people are from Ghana. Okay, so what? I'm an American.
But no, but what I'm saying is, so is Trigger Mike. He's American, but his parents, they're from Nigeria. He identifies as an American, but he also understands that his culture is also Nigerian.
Okay,
so that's
mistaken. Listen, I understand it. You're in teaching mode right now. I can tell by the way your voice is. You've been in the classroom all day. But let me ask you this: do you identify as a hunter and gatherer?
Yes, I do. I do those activities as well.
Okay, because your ancestors were hunters and gatherers for 50,000 years. So I mean,
But let's keep it in context. You know what I'm talking about.
Guys, let's get on. Look, this is not supposed to be the brain teaser. Our brain teaser was.
He sounds ashamed. I don't like that.
I'm not ashamed of anything.
Let me just say this: it doesn't matter if this is same because I've been hearing the whole. Last week we talked about the dating a bus driver, which nobody. I just want to clear it up. Nobody has a problem with bus drivers. I love people. I don't care what you do. If you're a great person, I love you. As far as people, as far as getting to know people. But why is it so different when KS says something than when we say something? Like, it doesn't matter who the person who's delivering the message is. or is it like it's okay to come from a man's mouth, but it's not okay to come from a female's mouth? Is that what we're doing? Is that how it is? Just want to know. So for better understanding clarity.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's certain messaging where language is important, right? So things don't get lost in translation. And I think men understand how they communicate with each other so much better than women communicating with men. I think that's one part of it. The other part of it is when it comes from a man, it's constructive criticism. And when it comes from a woman, it's more so critiquing or nagging, right? It's not typically seen in a positive light, like room for growth or pushing towards growth. It seems like you're pushing that person down instead of trying to uplift them with constructive criticism.
Makes sense. Anybody else want to contribute to that?
So do you think
icebreaker? I didn't mean to say brain teaser. I meant to say
so do you think it's more sometimes in the not just only the delivery, but who the message is coming from rather than the message? It's the messenger and not the message.
I think it's a combination of both, right? Because I think there are certain ways that a woman can say something to a man to either trigger him in a positive way to like really kind of put his feet to the flame. And I think the same message told by a woman in a different way could absolutely destroy that man, right? I think men understand each other, that nuance between each other a little bit, not a little bit, a lot more. Whereas I think with women, it's a little bit more difficult to kind of stay in frame, stay in your femininity, and communicate things in a way where it's going to be received. But I think sometimes harshness is needed. But when it comes from a woman, it's not received the same as it is from a man.
Okay, so we've kind of lost some of the context of what happened last week. Basically, last week was more about reducing the man down to his damn job. He was a bus driver, and it was like, I'm not dating a bus driver. Across the board, minus Inyala, right? That's what it was last week. What Kevin Samuels just was speaking of, he was talking about towards the end, have your wallet right. That doesn't mean the bus driver doesn't have his wallet right. Context matters.
Well, I think that I just cut it off. If you look at that video, and I guess I could play it again, he did mention dating, like it would be hard for you to date. He brought the dating into the situation. But let's just clarify, because I don't want people who drive in buses to feel any less than. That is not at all what we do here at Chic Critique. Our job is not to make anybody feel less than. Let me just clarify that. Just because I have a certain man, preference, so to speak, doesn't mean that I want to shame somebody or make them feel less than. We need bus drivers. I'm grateful for bus drivers. So I just want to clarify that point. I don't feel I treat anybody the same as I treat anybody else. Like, I don't look at the way I treat you equal across the board, pinpoint blank. That's just for me.
Until he comes up to you and says, hey, I found you cute, but I'm a bus driver.
Well, no. So me having respect for a person from a human standpoint is totally different. So I have, it's not just about career. I have a standard to mating, period. I think that when you mate with somebody, it's the single most important decision you'll make of your life. This is the person who can build you up or break you down. So it's more than just a career. So let's not just say it's all about just him being a bus driver. There are many entities that go into picking a mate for for who, And if obviously you want somebody who compliments you, you want somebody who's compatible with you. So when I say be respectful, I'm going to be respectful for anybody, no matter what their job title is. Everybody deserves respect. That's just for me. Now, just because I won't date you doesn't mean I don't respect you as a man. That's two different conversations. I respect everybody. I respect your hustle, your grind. I know plenty of men who are bus drivers. I have a bus driver who takes my child to school every day. I respect you. No different from me. I don't want to date single moms. I'm a single mom. I respect that. Like, I can't knock you for your preference. I can just say you're just not for me.
Yeah. So speaking of respect, Chaotic, I know you heard it through the grapevine that was toast, but it was actually a Rice Krispie treat. You California raisin ham.
Oh, I thought it was like a toast or something. Okay. All right.
I heard it through the grapevine.
Did I say that wrong? Because you know it is a holiday. I just don't want that to be misrepresented.
And I know people are going to get upset about this, but with you guys, y'all say call a spade a spade. The bottom line is this. I know we've been in this space a few times where we've heard men get on us when we say something about the tone, saying something about the tone and the way that you say things. And they, oh, here we go with the tone police. And they get on us about saying there's a way that you say things. And now that the roles are reversed and Ebony K said what she said in delivery wasn't, in the way that men were receptive to it, the tone or the delivery of it, they got upset about it. But my thing is that why is it an issue when men are saying as to women, don't focus on the tone, focus on the message. What was the message, right? And so now it seems that because the tone or the delivery of what she said didn't sit right with the way that they heard it, now it becomes an issue. But my thing is, when you really listen to everything that she said when she, was trying to clarify that information and clarify what she meant by that, then it was a matter of not a level of listening to because what she was stating honestly was facts. She was reading the stats, and I actually saw some videos too with KS. It's funny that you played that because I had came across some videos in which he was basically saying the same thing. He was even talking about blue collar workers and how he respects them and, it's great to learn a trade, but you don't ever stay in a position where you're working for somebody else. Like you end up being the one that needs to own the plumbing company. You know what I'm saying? So he was saying the same thing that basically she was saying. But I think because it came from her and they felt like, oh, because she thinks she cute or she thinks she got some money, now she's trying to, downplay, somebody as a bus driver because she said she wouldn't date one, but if he owned the bus company, she would. How is that any different than what he was saying?
Let me just clarify. I would date okay, so we said bus driver. We didn't say blue collar. I would date a blue collar worker. Bus driver is a part of blue collar, but blue collar is like a lot of people. So just because I say I wouldn't date a bus driver doesn't mean I wouldn't date a blue collar worker. I just want to clarify that. I didn't know they were all pushed in the same. I just wanted to say.
Rachel Jones said nobody cares about her tone. She tried to say black men are mediocre, even though black women are getting mediocre degrees. But that's part of her point. Even if the degrees are mediocre that women are earning, they're earning degrees and you are not. What she's saying is earn degrees. Or if not, do something where you can step your game up. Don't be okay with just meeting the bare minimum. And I don't think anything wrong with that. KS was preaching that to the women as well as the men. So there's nothing wrong with her saying that. I just really think that people took it personal and it wasn't personal. She was asked a personal question and responded honestly. And then people got upset at her response. So, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So that goes to like what I was saying earlier when Shan first asked the question, right? Because her response wasn't just a response, and it wasn't just saying the same thing, because even though the bare bones and structure of the statement, there can be parallels, at the end of the day, KS was saying it to uplift, empower, and motivate Black men to do better, to be better. she was using Black men as a stepping stone to prop herself out. It was very derogatory in her terminology and in her tone as to what she thought of Black men, right? And I think that's where, like, the message and the messenger are both important. I don't think anybody really truly cares about her preferences. It was her not only explaining her point of view, but also empowering other women to jump on the bandwagon who may not necessarily have the same credentials she does, right? And that's kind of where it's becoming problematic, is we're seeing people in the limelight that have certain credentials that are trying to mimic the same conversation to people who don't necessarily have those credentials, right? Like when we see all of these rappers and singers talking about the single life, all going home to their husbands, right? There's a mixed messaging. There's a problem in what's being perpetuated through media versus what's actually needed. KS didn't necessarily have that discrepancy when talking about Black men, whereas this lady absolutely did, talking about, I just want better for myself while still stepping on the backs of Black men. I don't see them as the same.
I guess that's the thing. Can you explain, I guess, in what way? Because me and my husband, we actually went back and we looked at the whole Iyanla interview. And then we went and we looked at the Breakfast Club interview, the whole thing. And we ended up having a discussion. And in that discussion, I said, just listen to what she's saying. Do you disagree with what she's saying? And the answer was no. He didn't disagree with what she was saying because he said, honestly, she is speaking facts. But for him, he was saying it's just the way that it came across and the way that she said it.
So that might be where our disconnect is in seeing this, because for me, where everything really came to light was her attempt at an apology, right? When she had released that statement talking about the young boys in school that are C&T students, and completely ignoring the fact that the education system does deprioritizes and stigmatizes young Black boys in the education system. Not to mention the fact that schools, we've had this conversation about how higher learning has been overrun by women. And so men are seeking other job opportunities and other spaces to occupy, right? We're not having the conversation about those things. She's using it as, well, I have the same thing we've been hearing for years, right? I have this degree and therefore it qualifies me for X, Y, and Z. I bring home this paycheck and it qualifies me for X, Y, and Z. And I think we're totally missing the point. Some women are totally missing the point, right? Those things don't qualify you in terms of marriage, in terms of partnership, in terms of whatever dynamic you're looking for with the opposite sex. Men are so tired of hearing it because they're saying, this, we don't care about this. Can you work with us to make this happen? And women are saying, well, you don't have a degree, so no, I won't. Well, you don't have higher education. No, I won't. You work this kind of job, so no, I won't. When really, to make a relationship function and work, those things aren't really that necessary.
I agree. And I'm going to let somebody else get there off so it won't be But hold on, let me finish. I agree. However, when you look at the statistics, and even just in the way that we were, when we've had these various conversations, that most people end up with people that are in their vicinity or on their level or whatever you want to call it. So if you have people that are typically high socioeconomic status, they typically marry other people who are of high socioeconomic status. If you have people that are in a middle class, many times they're marrying other middle class people. Even when you get to the lower class, they're marrying more, within that same circle. So I don't understand where people are getting upset when the stats show that you're typically marrying within your, what we're talking about, your own tribe or what have you. Whether it's education wise, whether it is financial wise, whether it's cultural wise, all of those things. are stuff that people take in consideration when they're mating. So I don't understand why everybody was upset with that, because we know that most people, even Mike, when I asked you last week, would you allow your daughter to marry a bus driver? And you said no.
Well, so I don't know how this week has gone. I don't know why we're still on the bus driver. Nobody expects an upper class woman to date a bus driver. I don't know how we're still on this. Like, I need to say once and for all, especially for every man that is upset, every person, there are women actually coming at her after her ass. That is not what we're upset about. That's not. And I think Inaz hit it on the head. She 100% exposed her bias, exposed herself as a misandrist once she started trying to apologize. It all came out. That nasty ass attitude came out. That thinking all black men are beneath you and no black man is good enough in general. She kept taking the tone that she wasn't speaking for herself. She was speaking on how black women feel in general. I felt it like heat coming off of through the screen. I felt it looking at her facial expressions and everything. You could, like, that's easy. We get that all the time on these panels. So we know what it looks like when we see it. The issue with what that lady said, because like I told you, my daughter's is probably going to be somebody affluent. Those people, you were 100% right. Marry other affluent people. They won't. Nobody's expecting this lady to marry a bus driver. The real issue is that she's projecting her failed strategy in life onto other people. She waited too long. She cannot get the man she does qualify for. Therefore, she must disparage average black men. That is, they always use that playbook. Remember, I've said it on this very broadcast. One of the signals of a radical feminist is that they cannot make black women look strong and capable without making black men look weak and inept. And she's been doing that all week.
Okay.
Thank you. So I guess we can move from that. Was like a little, what did I say? What's it called? Not a brain tea. What's it called? The
icebreaker.
Damn.
Well, I didn't get a chance to say anything.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, chaotic.
Shan, I gotta call you out. You said that you would date a bus driver.
I didn't say no. I didn't say that. I said a blue collar worker. I didn't say a bus driver. I said we date a blue collar worker.
She said she would respect bus driver.
I gotta follow up.
Everybody deserves respect.
Yeah, I got a follow-up question for you, Shan.
Okay. You think I wouldn't?
How tall does this blue collar man have to be? Would you date a 5'6" plumber? Keep it real.
Oh, see, you adding on. Let me just say this. I spoke last week about how when them UPS drivers get off their truck, sometimes you got to have a Gatorade ready for them. You know.
Again, would you have a Gatorade ready for a 5 foot? Would you have a Gatorade ready for a 5'4" FedEx driver?
We're talking about preference, and we just all agreed that it's okay for people to have their preference.
I don't think that.
Let me just pump my blue collar workers up right now, because
it's not about the blue collar.
Let me just pump them up, because one thing you're not gonna knock the blue collar workers on is their body, baby. They be in the gym.
Man, no offense. It seems like you're dancing.
Lumptious.
Shan, you're dancing around.
What is your problem?
You would not date a short blue collar man.
You're adding things.
You're attracted.
I said blue collar. But let me just say this. The lowest I will go, you said 5'6". If I'm honest with myself, the lowest I usually go is 5'9". Possibly 5'8", just depending on the guy. But I usually do 5'9".
Okay, so basically you
5'9" and up.
Chaotic, how tall are you?
I'm 5'6".
How tall am I?
Yeah.
Put it this way, I'm taller than Muggsy Bogues.
So you taller than 5'2"?
Well, Muggsy Bogues was 5'3", so I'm taller than Muggsy Bogues.
Yeah. Do you qualify for
Did you hit the height criteria that she just described?
It's not about me. I'm just asking questions. I think a lot of women are full of shit. I think a lot of women really are just into looks, like how men are into looks as well.
I think women, listen, I have to be attracted. Some people are not. For me, I have to be attracted to he doesn't have to be a god, but because a lot of people say, oh, he's not that attractive to me, but I think he's attractive. As long as I think he's attractive, that's all that matters.
Marcus, put it this way.
Did you just call him Pookie? Just because he's blue collar does not make him Pookie.
Are you drunk, Shan?
Saggy pants.
Shan, he didn't say Pookie.
No, somebody in the thing.
Marcus, put it this way. I can stand toe to toe with Spud Webb.
Well, it was 5'4".
How tall are you, Chaotic?
Hold on, let me look this up.
I don't want.
He was like 5'6", wasn't he?
I don't like giving up my height.
You're barely over that mic. So
you shouldn't have came from Marcus, Chaotic.
Y'all know Marcus like 6'10".
See, look
with the toast.
Look at all lumptious and married over there. Let me stop.
Yeah.
Y'all really, it's Cinco de Mayo, right?
Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Shan, do you know what
going into my birthday, y'all. My birthday is next Saturday.
Happy birthday.
So if you are in the Atlanta area and you just happen to drive by Rock Steady, that's where I'll be on May the 13th. So stop by and say hello.
Is that in Midtown?
It's in Midtown. It's like, like Midtown, downtown area.
Yeah.
You gonna come?
I don't know if I can make it, but yeah, I've been going to Atlanta since the 90s. Oh, I love Atlanta.
You was at Freaknik, Chaotic?
I was too young, but I wanted to go.
I was at Freaknik, but I was fully dressed and I was a virgin. So I have no problems with any videos that come out. All you're gonna see me in the sideline looking like this. Like, what?
How were you, like 17 at the time? At the first one?
When I went, it was 96. So I was like 18. So.
Oh, 18. Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I was fully dressed, no issues. I have no concerns. I'm not worried at all.
Sounds good.
Okay, you guys, let's get so another icebreaker that I want to talk
real quick. If they have pictures of the cabana, that's in Canada. That was the bomb. But yeah, y'all
mistaken. Speaking of height, if your brother's 6'11", how tall are you?
She's shorter than me.
Oh, Chaotic. She didn't want to expose none of that.
Oh,
that was the secret.
Oh, sorry. Oh, never mind. Sorry. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't say who. Never mind.
No.
So, Shan, what were you gonna say? What was the next question?
Girl, y'all made me lose my mind up in here.
You don't read.
What? Okay, so
that man can't hold water.
You said what now?
He can't hold water. God, dog.
She got the good red cup.
I don't remember with the other icebreaker. Oh, you know what?
2 red cups. Oh my God. I'm sorry.
You know what's so funny? And this is really quick, and this can go into a whole nother topic itself. I know the Fight Club, shout out to the Fight Club, because I like Fight Club. They brought up Marjorie Harvey's last name. And they were saying how Marjorie Harvey shouldn't have Steve Harvey's last name because her dad is out of jail now.
You mean Lori?
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, yeah, no, Lori Harvey.
Is that Lori Harvey's father? I thought that was the boy's father. I don't.
No, it's Lori. It is Lori was adopted by Steve. And so I find that to be confusing because I know a lot of people say, oh, when the stepdad is taking over, you allow him to have all this power. But then it's like now everybody was like, no, but that's the dad. So I was just wondering what you guys' input on that is.
So is that Lori Harvey's father that got out of jail?
I don't think that's her father.
It is. Steve Harvey is not Lori.
Two different fathers.
He's
one of the kids' fathers, but it's a son. It's not her. Her father might still be in jail. I'm not sure if he's out yet.
Oh,
yeah.
I think even still, it makes sense. So in this particular instance, you already know why she wanted the kids to have his last name. Everybody wants to be associated with prestige, fame, and whatever. You have a better chance at life when somebody hears that your father is Steve Harvey, whether stepfather or biological father. So, it makes business sense to do if you want to set your kids up for success. The fact that she changed her name to Harvey is why we can't forget that she's connected to him. That's how that's how she got popular in the first place, if we really want to be honest. So everybody like, who's Steve Harvey's daughter? It added a little bit of it factor to her to the point where Meek Mill want to put her in a rap song. So
people seem, well, at least men seem to be bothered by
what her biological father may think or feel like, or like how would you feel if that was, I guess, your son or your daughter taking the stepfather?
I would be pissed, but I would be pissed. But the same way I logically just broke it down, that's what I would understand would be going on. I'd be pissed because it's like, yo, that's my daughter. But naturally, she could also take that as a stage name, you know. So
I'd be like, you forfeited your. I mean, and I know there.
Because 20 years of absence, you know, for whatever reason, is a long time.
Yeah, and I know they were pretty high or I don't know if we want to go into that, but then I don't know. How old was she when
she was 6?
See, I don't want to speak for men, but I don't know.
Look. Let's call a spade a spade. Dude went to jail. The kids was young. Steve started to make some bank. Got with the mama. Adopted the kids. The dude was gone for about 20 years. It is what it is. Steve Harvey, in my opinion, made a bad call, but that's what he wanted. That's the woman he wanted. So I can't knock him for that. But I would not have done it.
Let me just say this.
But I understand that, like, you're gonna adopt the kids. They get a better life, and that's just the way it is. Dude got pinched. It is what it is.
But don't we always argue on these websites about how stepdads don't have power? And here she is for giving him all of this power. Like, this is the man who said, hey, I'm going to take on you and your family. So we always, in these sites, we always talk about stepdaddy power. And she gave it to him. And then we complain.
Well, she lost her kingpin or boyfriend or whatever the hell he was. And she needed, Steve Harvey had the comedian thing going on at the time, so yeah, she's gonna give it over to him when he's doing all right. Of course, like no man on that level is gonna accept being second to a woman.
AP, let me ask you. Cases, it's a saying in the around the space, right? What is it? Beta bucks or alpha plucks, beta bucks, or something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Damn. All right, so it's about a mating strategy where the women pick the men that they initially wanted and they have kids with them, and then they either break up with them or that relationship dissolves, and then she gets the safe option. I think that the Steve Harvey thing kind of like solidified that, like as a prime example of how that actually happened, because she has a type, right? She like for that era.
Ballers. She like ballers.
You know what I'm saying? The dude that was getting it in. So you went and got one, he got booked, then you got another one, he got booked, and then you go get a comedian that's a panderer. I think she was like, all right, I done got enough kids out of the real ones that I wanted. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and
I think that she just likes powerful men. So even if it's not, legal, I think she just likes men who have power. And I don't think she can foresee the fact that she was gonna get Steve.
Yes, she did. Wait. She turned down Steve when he was a nobody. Steve had to build himself up because he
had stuff going for himself.
When he didn't have money, no, she would not date him. He built him. These are Steve Harvey's words. He built himself up. Once dude was out of the picture, he built himself up and came in and got her.
No, but he also said that he knew she was the type of woman that he just couldn't come at her. He knew he had to level up, basically, to deal with her.
Level up.
That was kind of what he said. That was what he was getting at.
So just to kind of circle it back to the original question, I think, like, when we're talking about kids, like, I would get the conversation, but we're talking about a grown adult, right? Like, Lori Harvey is an adult woman who at this point is able to make that decision for herself to either take back her biological father's name or keep her stepfather's name, right? Like, for the internet to kind of be going crazy about this, like she's 12 years old, I think is absolutely ridiculous. Like, that woman really only knows one father, right? And so for her to choose to keep that name, I would understand it. And if she chose to switch it back to her biological father's name out of respect for him, I would understand it. But the idea that like we can weigh in on a grown adult and how two parents have raised this child into adulthood, I think that it's a moot point. Like, I don't understand why it's a topic of conversation amongst adults.
What I think is interesting is I just read in the chat, and I know you're going to read the super chat later, but Kevin C said that, does Lori Harvey's father, is he happy that Steve Harvey assumed the duties as stepfather? Does not seem so. Unfortunately, though, like, in that case, then who is he more concerned about? His pride and his ego and the way that he looks, or the future of his daughter? Like, that is just so... It's 2023. Like, names I don't think mean the same as they used to, because women aren't even taking, well, they do to me, like, traditionally. But last names, like, some women are either hyphenating their name or they're not even taking their husband's last name. Again, to me,
future husband.
Yeah, like, I took my husband's. So I mean, it does matter to me.
It really has nothing to do with that. This is what it really is on his end. And I know I'm not a dude, but just kind of hearing conversations sometimes, what it really has to do with is the fact that now he was that dude when he was originally with her, with the mom. Mm-hmm. Now, Lord, what's her name? The mother, whatever her name is. Marjorie is with Steve Harvey. When you compare the two,
that's a good point.
He know that there is no room for him to even slide back in, to even get access to her. A lot of times when you go in as that man, he knows she was feeling him, had his baby, with her because he was that dude. When he comes out, a lot of times they still want to slide back in, and he knows because she has a man that is, at that level, that there is no room or opportunity for him to get back in. If it was just some regular dude, like a bus driver, he knew. No, I'm just joking. If it was just a regular dude, he know in his mind that there is an opportunity that he can probably slide back in. I think that's what it's really about. So he can't compete with a dude like Steve Harvey at this point. And I think that's really what it's about when you was hitting about the ego aspect of it.
Definitely ego.
I mean, I hear what y'all are saying, but that dude old as crap, man. Like, look at him. He gray everywhere. Y'all got to realize at some point the men know. You've been locked down that many years. I mean, we're black men. We got a lot of people that are locked up that come home and we talk to them. Some of them are immature like that, but that's not the long bunch of them. What they really want is an entrance back into the lives of their children.
Music? Just real quick, just to make sure like nothing gets dinged.
I think it's Marky Mark.
Yeah.
It's a good vibe, but like,
go ahead.
Okay.
What they really want is the entrance back into their children's lives without the mother's interference. That's what I found more often. The moms, you already know how women are. They harbor resentment for the fact that they went to jail and put them in that predicament in the first place. So you know how it is. They just start overcompensating in areas. Well, I need to be here when you meet and such and such. Like the person is dangerous. Like, I've seen and observed many of my homies get out of jail and they understand the situation with that woman being married now and all of that, but they're like, why are you doing the most? We've talked about this, but now that I'm out, you're tripping and trying to, they won't even, they'll make concessions to say, well, you don't have to bring them to me. You could take them to my mother's house. But that's really what I've more so seen. Dudes aren't out here thinking they about to get back with their baby mom after they've been locked down for 20 years. You see that on occasion, but we got to stop using those. In fact, I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't want how many dudes that knock you down while I've been locked down. I don't even want that no more. I'd rather go start fresh.
How many dudes that knock you down?
Because that's more of a sure thing than some new one. That's why it's easy to double back to something that you've already had. Right.
Can we be real? There are
women. Harvey is like,
hold on. There are women in
you
jail.
trying to get what you can get. Stop
There
it.
are women marrying dudes in jail. Stop it.
Yeah, there
are.
But yeah,
So
there
I was
are.
like,
But
what are
it
y'all
doesn't
talking
guarantee conjugal visits. I watched that show. What's that show that they got where they get married in jail and then they get out? And
I don't know what it's called.
I can't
Let
remember
me
what
just.
it's
I know what you're talking about, though.
Listen,
Yeah.
I am that baby mama who I love my husband controls this household. So whatever he say, that's what we doing.
Love after lockup. Is that it?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I looked it up. Okay.
Yep. That's it.
All right. So that was just a icebreaker. Now let's get into the stuff. I'm gonna play a video for y'all. Okay. On slow motion. Let me figure out which one I'm gonna do first, though. Y'all can keep talking.
Motion for me.
There's so much good stuff
Oh
here.
damn, my hand's ashy. 1 second.
Oh my god.
Who sees your hands?
Negro.
Unless you like.
All right, I think I'm gonna do this one first. Okay, give me a second. Since we're talking about lockup, let's do this one first.
Serving time as a woman is harder than serving time as a man.
I got backlash from that too.
But explain yourself though.
I've experienced both sides of the fence. When you go to a men's facility, it's a damn line outside with the mamas and the kids. When you go to a women's facility, you don't see no men. You see the grandparents or the sisters or the aunties, but you really rarely see a man hold his woman down. It's disheartening. As women, we deal with a lot. We wear a lot of hats and we carry a lot on our shoulders. And when men do time, they can go do 10 years like it ain't nothing. Because guess what? You can call home. You know your wife at home, the kids with their mama. The house good, they good. You can be at peace knowing your family is okay. I was blessed to have a very good, strong support system. So I didn't encounter or endure a lot of things that other women did, but I had girls that I was friends with who kids got taken by the state. They don't know where their kids are. Husbands left them.
I think that whole perspective just really I didn't necessarily know that. I didn't necessarily even think about that. Serving time as a woman.
I didn't even know Cam had a show, but okay. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think that there's a loyalty amongst women that there isn't amongst men? Because we're going to get more into that a little bit later in the show. But what do you guys think?
Absolutely not.
On Love and Hip Hop, and I know y'all hate when we reference shows, but on Love and Hip Hop, when Remy Ma was talking about her situation when she got locked up, her husband held her down that entire time that she was locked up. But then when it was, what's her name? Yandy. And she asked her husband, would he have held her down if she got locked up and did the time that he had to do? And he straight up said, nah, I don't know if I could have did it. And her feelings was hurt because she's looking at like, yo, I was holding it down for you while you were locked up, getting into all of this stuff with your baby's mama, trying to keep our kids together. And now you're trying to tell me that you wouldn't have you don't think you could have done what I did. So I do think there's some truth to what she's saying. Absolutely.
Before I answer, I want to ask you ladies a question. What would make you wait? Why would you wait? Why wait? What are you waiting on? Like, I'm just curious. What is it about you as a woman that makes you wait around? I'm just curious.
I'm sorry.
I think it depends on what you're locked up for. If you're locked up for something like, selling something that you could have avoided, right? Versus like looking at a Nelson Mandela, how he got locked up. To me, those are totally different scenarios in which you're willing to stick that out with him because of the cause that he got locked up for.
Especially if you're married.
Right. Versus doing 20 years with somebody because they were selling some drugs or, whatever crime that they did in regards to that. But you like what Nelson Mandela, that's something totally different. So I would definitely stay in a situation like that versus another situation where you just, a drug pen and then got caught and got locked up.
So I'm going to take your question from a different angle. I think that women who are single or women who opt out of marriage for any reason get so much backlash that just societal pressure alone is enough to make a woman stay. even if they're doing wrong, even if like it's not a lockup situation, I think women stay regardless of the situation for a lot of reasons, just because of the societal pressure, whether it's to be able to say that they're still married, whether it's to say that they still have a man, whether it's to say that, you know, I was a good woman to this man, whatever it is. I think the reasons vary from woman to woman, but I think the pressures of people around them is really a big factor in sticking it out.
Please read what Rodney said.
I did.
Rodney said, Rodney Dunn, I'll read it. He said, my wife told me that the moment the police tap on the car and say, hold tight for a few minutes, she says she's single.
The reason why
I don't think I'm that chick. I'm not gonna even lie to you. I'm sorry. Now you said Nelson Mandela. That's totally different. That's for a purpose.
well,
You know.
the reason I ask is because as a man, I'm not going to stay around, and I don't think loyalty has anything to do with it unless we have kids together. I'm not sticking around. I'm not waiting, and it all depends on what your charge is. Because I know from my point of view, I probably did everything in my power to prevent you from having to do something stupid that would get you sent to jail. So if you decided to go out and do something stupid, even after me trying to be the best leader that I can, you decided to do something stupid, I'm out. You made the decision. So I'm just trying to understand. Like that's crazy to me.
I have major pushback for that, right? And I know I'm going to get a little bit of flack for this, but the truth is the truth, regardless of people's feelings about it. A lot of those women are in those situations because of the man that they're with, right? It's not the man who's done what he can to prevent that situation. He has directly caused the situation for her to be there in the first place, right? It's not the same. And to go back to the original question, like, it's absolutely true that the majority of men don't stick it out, because the other side to that is when a woman is diagnosed with a terminal illness, men don't stick it out. It has now become a part of medical practice to consult women who are diagnosed with terminal illness about their options should it lead to a divorce, right? And you can feel how you feel about it, but the statistics are there. Men don't typically, and I'm not saying all, right? Because I hate that I have to clarify that. There are good men that will do it. There are men who feel dutiful that will do it. There are men who love a woman enough to do it. But the majority of men are opting out because they are not either equipped or willing to take on a caretaker role. Most men leave that to women to take care of. And so they opt out when they're put in that position.
So basically, go ahead, Trigger.
Men and connections do.
I would have thought. Well, I thought I saw the same stat, and I thought it said people, men and women alike, do not stick it out with the spouse.
It was men.
Okay, well, you know, it's funny to me that we keep trying to make situations for the whole, like, this is why everything that I advocate for on my show, everything that I talk about, people say is outdated. This is what you get outside of the status quo. This is what you get outside of the bounds and sanctity of marriage. This is what you get. It's that, like, I don't get why we're trying to make situations fit, put square pegs in round holes. This is what you get: a situation, a turmoil, a chaos that cannot be fixed, or you can't make rules for it. Now, about the jail thing, to me, it's weird that we keep trying to expect the same behavior from men that women do. We are different. We respond to things different, but I think there's a more intellectual approach that could possibly be taken with this as to why you do not see men show up for women or hold them down, so to speak. If most of the people in jail come from single mother-led homes, then most of the women in jail are likely single mothers. Does everybody understand that, how I came to that conclusion? So let's look at the single mother narrative. single mothers usually have custody of children, because in that video she mentioned that during the visitation days she sees women and grandparents. I bet you those grandparents have custody of those children because the mother fought for it from the dad. That's usually what happens. No, don't give them to him. My mama gonna take care of the baby. I've seen that happen.
Probably not a fight. That wasn't probably a fight. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying. Well, yeah, if they're socioeconomic wise, it's probably not a fight. Dad's probably not in the picture. So that's why you see the grandparents instead of the dad. These ladies were likely never married. The men had no attachment to them in the first place. And the reason why you see women at the jails with their children is because women have custody of children, bringing them to see their father. So I think it's a perfectly logical way to explain that. What do y'all think?
Then the question I have is, what is the complaint about? If the man didn't really give a damn to begin with, if there's no man, why would she even mention that? That's crazy.
Yeah, the problem would be first the man in the situation, the father. Where's the father to begin with, regardless of if she's in jail or not? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, kind of. I mean, the complaint is there's no man holding her down, right? And the complaint is all she sees is grandparents and bringing the kids, or maybe I don't know. So why would she have expected a man to show up if there's no man really in the picture to begin with?
Right.
So I think to what Trigger Mike is saying, and he can correct me if I am misunderstanding, there's typically a man. He's just not her husband.
Not her husband.
And so the obligation to show up is not the same, right? And so there usually is, because again, like, my statement still rings true that the majority of women who are locked up are because of a situation that a man had put them in, and vice versa, right? Let's not pretend that a lot of men are not in jail because of women's actions, but there's typically a boyfriend, there's typically a baby daddy, there's typically a dude she's messing with, there's typically a man in the picture who is not deemed her wife worthy.
And she expect that nigga to show up?
Yeah, but let me also say, because this is actually something I looked up months ago, and I first heard it from, I think he left the super chat, Mr. Kevin, and I went and looked it up. I found it deep on like page 6 or something. Once I Googled it, men actually only, so when we're talking about loyalty, there are tiers to it, right? So, oh damn, he just put it in the super chat. He did. So, no. Well, this is something else. Men actually only leave women for 3. We say women divorce most of the time. Men actually divorce for a very few amount of reasons. If the woman, I wrote it down here. If the woman is on drugs, if there's abandonment, meaning she just abandoned the family altogether, and they're doing a legal separation anyway, so he's legally divorced, and absence, such as jail. Those are the only 3 reasons prevalent reasons men will leave a woman. So that's why I'm on the side, like, yes, we are more loyal in a marriage. So I do think it is that title. I'm gonna tell you right now, I won't hold it down for a girlfriend. That sounds stupid as hell to me. For a girlfriend, you know who I am out here? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm about to be out here with, damn, I'm gonna hold it down. You might get 100 on your books every now and then, but
do you think you would if you had a child by her?
So this, in terms of loyalty, I would do the visitation and everything and all of that type of stuff. But just
that's what I mean.
We ain't together. Hell no.
It's also, you know what's so funny?
You
know, I wish I could change the topic, the title, because Mike I don't understand why women don't grasp this concept. Like, why are we so loyal to people who are not loyal, who are going to waste our time? It's so funny because I just I saw an Entertainment Tonight video, and it was like, Ashanti is back with Nelly. And I put in the comments, he's just about to waste 10 more years of her life.
I mean, Shan, we also can't act like jail ain't a way to hold a man to monogamy. You know, like there are women who seek men in jail because they know he can't be out. Well, they assume that he's not
honorable. Like, he's getting it in with them COs.
If I can't have you, no one can. That's crazy.
And then, like, you know, one of the things that you can dangle over a woman's, like the carrot and the stick, you can say, when I get out, I'm gonna marry you. the sweetest stuff you ever gonna hear come from a man is when he locked up. He gonna be telling you everything under the sun. He gonna make every promise you ever heard. I'm gonna XYZ. I'm gonna be faithful to you. I'm gonna come home and be the best man you ever seen, the one you was waiting for. I'm gonna be the best me. I'm so everything that we could ever say is gonna come when you locked up. I mean, she could talk maybe freaky to you on the phone, but like it ain't really nothing that's like an incentive based system in that scenario for the man to be waiting. And then another thing, when people say that the woman is waiting, 9 times out of 10 she be getting it cracking until 2 weeks before he come home.
I was just gonna say that.
Like, I
was just gonna say that.
I think it's because, and the reason I say that is because I heard somebody say, I can't remember what I was watching, but they were saying, I'm not dumb to know that she's not. I just don't want to know.
Yep.
So that's really what it is. It's not that they don't know. The expectation is, I'm not dumb, but I just don't want to hear nothing about it. Like, I don't want to hear nothing about it. So I think to a degree is an understanding there without nobody saying anything.
And that Marcus took the words right out of my mouth. I was just gonna say these went literally probably every dude on this panel thought he had a joint like a old faithful on the team. You try to hit her up one day, he's like, oh nah, the big buddy home now. It's over. Like you like what? What's going on? Who? Oh yeah, my man been locked up. He took an assault charge.
I plead the fifth.
All right, shit. Well, we've all gotten that text before.
Fifth.
I plead the fifth, bro. I'm not even gonna talk about it.
Let's get these super chats in before I go to the next video, okay?
While she doing the super chats, this is a good time for you guys to get your likes up.
Yeah,
you read that like that was a super chat. You teleprompter.
Who's gonna read this?
All right, I got it. The question is the former drug kingpin / convict biological father happy that Steve assumed duties as a stepfather? It does not seem so.
Don't get locked up then, nigga.
Salute.
Is this Margarita AP we talking to tonight?
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. Perry unlikely. This is about perception. Bus driver managers make $100K plus, and there are women who will choose a lawyer who make less because it looks better. Yeah.
I think Nas spoke on that last week. That's true. Some people like status more than they like, salary itself.
External solutions for internal problems. Trying to seek validation from people outside of yourself, that's always going to leave you in the minus.
Marcus can never read the super chat again. Kevin
C. H&L 75. Look, top 2. I was all on a tangent. Top 2 reasons men divorce their wives: unsolvable drug addiction and prison. Men endure a lot before they consider divorce. Shout out to Papoose and Randy.
I agree with that though.
1/3, Kevin C. 75. 1/3, 33% men divorced when wife was ill. Sick husbands had no effect on marriages as couples continue staying together.
Ooh,
don't
let me find out. Y'all fighters.
Hold on. Here's what it was. Here's what it is. No, we'll still care for you. But we gotta be able to bust something open now. We gotta be able to lay down with something. We don't want to hurt you because you're sick and you're terminal. We want you to be okay.
But here's the thing.
Leave when you need them the most. I watched my grandmother and both my aunts take care of their husbands in their death until they died. And they all said it. I remember my grandmother said it was just an honor for her to be able to take care of my grandmother the way that she did in his last days because of the way he honored and took care of her when he was alive.
Yep.
Truth of the matter is a lot of women are not getting that kind of care, that kind of love, that kind of protection. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen because I've seen it. So I know it's out there. But when you just look at the stats, 33%, you'll stay in a bad marriage, but hell, I ain't gonna stay if she gets sick. Like
I do have a statement though. I do got a statement. How many of those women? Because that was beautiful. That was a beautiful story. I hope to be somebody that deserves that. But how many women are honorable? The way that you describe, the way a man wants to honor a woman, it to me, it's a reciprocal thing that we've lost, a reciprocal relationship to where men shouldn't, and we need to teach them not to associate with dishonorable women. But I think too many black men, that's all they're used to. They think women are just this way. They're disrespectful, uncooperative, and all of that. And then we have the greatest group of single women ever about to be living in the United States, and their sons don't even want to take care of them. That's how dishonorable, women are. So I think, like I said, if we're going to talk about life outside the bounds of marriage and respect and duty, this is what we get. This is exactly what we're going to get. Men are perfectly capable of doing that for a woman that did all of that for them and vice versa. I just think that's what we've lost. And this is why you'll see these things happening. And I also want to say to that stat that men leave, I wish they would break it down and control for if these people had children or not. There's a lot of things I'll do and a lot of things I won't do, but it's all related to my children's perception of me. I can never do that to my wife and then look my children in the face and say I didn't take care of their mother when she got ill. Right. So,
I think that too. Yeah. Okay. So we'll talk about that another day. I was going to bring something else up, but I don't want to go into that now. Here's another video. Oh, go ahead, Enos.
Sorry, I just wanted to touch on what AP was saying. So I don't know if you know this, but a lot of women who are terminally ill, like in the later stages, are not only very okay with their husband stepping out, but actually take an active role in finding a replacement partner. So that's happening, right? So to say like, hey, I just want to get some while I still take care of you, like that's still, and men are still opting out.
I'm gonna be honest. My husband and I have had that conversation. If I had ever, and I just threw it out there, like if I had ever got sick where I could not, perform, and it was just nothing, would you be okay stepping out? Like if I gave you permission, because I'm gonna be honest, if I can't fulfill that duty, I would not. Not that I wouldn't expect. I just wouldn't want. I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't want him to not be able to, because I know he's not going to care for that woman. I know he's not going to try to build a relationship with her. I know my place would not be replaced, but I understand that he has needs. And if I could not perform because I'm terminally ill or whatever, I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't mind. It's not like he can bring anything back to me. I'm not doing anything,
Well,
but when I asked Ted, he was like, "Oh, babe, you would, right?"
Did you ask if he would be okay?
When I asked, would he do that for me?
Fuck no.
Exactly. That was the answer.
I'm joking. So I think that's a very important thing. This is one of those other things where these are not questions that we really should be asking. If you are in tune with your feminine nature and you understand masculine nature, and a man is in tune with his masculine nature and understands feminine nature, a man would likely know what's going on. The men are 100% on the band, on the frequency. Do not let me find out. That is how you deal with a man. Don't talk to him about it. He's not stupid, just like the jail person. Do not let him find out. His pride cannot take it. Women, remember, men dominate, women get dominated. You will lose respect for your wife knowing she's getting dominated by another man. So smart women keep that stuff to themselves. We don't discuss it. You know what I mean? All that type of stuff. But he's not dumb. If it's Johnson don't work, eventually he just, or where were you? In fact, don't need to tell me.
I would feel like I would never do that. I couldn't. I'll have the conversation. If he say no, then it'd be no. But I would feel like I'm lying if we didn't have that discussion. I couldn't. Yeah, I
couldn't either. I wouldn't even do it. I wouldn't even think about it. Okay, let's move on.
Jamal said, "Lie, ladies, lie."
Oh, I'm serious. I wouldn't. I don't even cheat on.
You know what? All of this goes out the window once you've reached a level of horniness. Like I've literally seen this 1,000 times. People say a bunch of shit The same woman that I was talking about, like, oh no, my dude locked up. I'm gonna hold it down for him. Hit my phone up like the next month, like, okay, we can't establish a relationship. Can you slide through?
I
Like,
don't think it's horniness. Maybe she's lonely.
both. What,
It is both.
we can't tell the difference in 2023. We can't.
I ain't done. They just
So
give
for all the little blue caps and all the people saying that the ladies are lying, Google is free. The numbers are there. The statistics are there. They're done. They've been done over generations. Like, I don't. Yeah, like it really is free to fact check.
The only issue that I have with that particular stat, the only issue I have with that particular stat is in a married relationship, isn't she on his insurance or something like aren't there other factors that are going on that he's likely having to pay for? Like he's just dumping, like, hey, boo, we're gonna divorce, you about to die, I'm out. Like, is that what these dudes is like? Is that what that's kind of what I'm hearing from that stat? Like 33% is huge. That's a big number. Like,
now,
I'm just having a hard time struggling with that.
Listen, I'm sure that age has a lot to do with this as well. And I'm sure we're not talking about people who are of age. We're probably talking about people, who are still in kind of the prime, like maybe men are like 40s, 50s, 60s. No, okay, never mind. I didn't read the stats, so I don't know.
Well, my thing is that do you think because men would leave because it's harder for them to stay? Like I again, like I said, with my grandmother, when I saw my grandfather, because he was dying of cancer, and I saw him, like, I was shocked because he did not look like my granddad, like before he passed. And I know that had to have been hard on my grandmother to see him, kind of withering away. So do you think as a woman, our nature and kicking in just wants to take care, wants to make him as comfortable as he possibly can, right?
Exactly.
But for men, it may be, I just can't see her like that. Like, it's too hard to see
it's
your
the
wife
nature
no
of
longer
women.
your wife.
How do women even get to this jail thing where they're taking care of a dude's in jail? It's literally just a woman's nature. That's all it is.
So I want to add to that, right? Like the other last comment. Okay. The other side to that, right? Like, it's in a man's nature to problem solve. And the one thing you can't problem solve is a terminal illness. Damn. Right? So there's a level of frustration and the feeling of inadequacy in that situation that I think causes a lot of men to exit, because they're not equipped to like deal with like comfort levels and like emotions. It's their nature becomes challenged with a woman with terminal illness.
Okay, so let's go. So does anybody else have anything quick to say? Because we're going to go to the next topic.
I got a whole bunch to say, but it's not quick.
Oh, we know.
Go ahead. What
you want to say, AP?
Go ahead, clapping cake.
Just don't put periods in between them words.
Okay, a long
a run-on sentence.
I would just hire a nurse. I don't see me leaving, and I don't see any of the other two men sitting here just deucing it up on their wives. Like, I'm just struggling with seeing us like actually go file divorce papers, get her power of attorney or whoever's going to be responsible for her sign, and getting that signed and leaving her like that. I'm struggling with seeing that. And any man in my circle, I'm just struggling with, like,
yeah, because you're a different kind of guy. I think that we stated people who think alike usually hang around each other, because there are a lot of things that women do. I'm struggling with understanding too. It's just some people are like this, some people are not. They just, we know that you're not like that, AP.
Yeah, it's
and Marcus.
It's cultural. America. Well, if we're talking about American families, America has no culture. So you're going to see all kind of weird behavior in relationship.
Ego and selfishness.
No culture. This couldn't happen in Indian culture. Everybody would flock together. We got somebody to take care of. We would move houses. People would keep their own house and move into the house. They have round the clock care for that lady. Like, you see what I'm saying? We don't got that type of culture. In fact, that's actually why marriages fail. That is my new theory on why, especially African American marriages fail. There is no community or village around you to help you with anything. There is no mom to say, let me help you cook dinner tonight so you can have sex with your husband. No, there's none of that. So
it's so funny, Mike. You are just leading us into the next topic, because you know what I have noticed is this generation, people are just messed up. People just don't care about other people. People are just selfish. This is we live in selfish times. We don't care. It's no moral. People just don't care. Look at this next video so you can see what I'm talking about. Once I can pull it up, sorry.
Men group women into 3 categories. There's the freak, the friend, and the forever. The freak is the one who, just straight up drop it like it's hot, no questions asked. You know what she gonna do. You call her up, that's what she does. The friend is the person that you can rely on. The person that it's probably platonic. You can lay your head on her shoulder, you can cry, tell her all your feelings, but she's not the one that you actually marry. The forever is the woman that has marriage potential and the one that you marry. Now, the problem is women get confused about which category they're in. There's a lot of freaks who think they are forever, when typically they're not a forever. They're just the freak. And men, what they do is they keep some of these people on the side, and then these with like the platonic friend, she can possibly move up to the forever, but the freak will never become the forever. But she's misconstrued and she thinks that she will, so she sticks around and sticks around.
I'm dating with a purpose 100% of the time, and that's to get this money. I don't date for love no more. I date for money.
You said you had a boyfriend though?
Yeah.
So you with him for the money?
Yeah.
And he know that?
The love is the bonus. See, I used to do it the opposite way. I used to date for love, and money was the bonus. All throughout college, I dated for love. And it just never worked out, because in the end, I was left with nothing. But when I date for money, I leave with bags, trips, jewelry.
Those memories
teeth,
though.
BBLs. You know what I'm saying?
BBLs?
Yeah, you leave with something, very much something, instead of leaving with nothing but love.
Listen,
the fuck?
I need evidence.
Listen, I wanted to show that because it's people out here using people on both sides. They're not disclosing this information. They're playing along on both sides, using people. And we wonder why we're in the situation that we're in today. What are you guys' thoughts on those 2 videos?
The second girl was definitely lying. There's no way. Like, she just is in all these relationships getting bags. Like, we already know statistically how many men are even wealthy. And like, I don't know. I'm not saying it hasn't happened maybe once, but still, like, I don't. But as far as the first one goes,
giving out bags, but you probably is the hag.
Well, it depends on where she lives.
Wait, hold on though. The first one though, easy solution. And men, you're not gonna like this, but I really don't care because it doesn't apply to me anyway. Women, just don't open your legs to these men. Then you're not the freak, because that's what a freak is, right? Like, that's easy. All right, go ahead.
They won't listen, though, Coach Katie. They won't listen.
I had a whole close your legs campaign. I'm gonna give me a shirt that says close your legs.
They don't want to. They don't want to. That's the problem.
Go ahead, Enos.
So I enjoyed both videos. I think, to disagree with Coach K, I think the second one, it's very possible, right? Because like, even if a man's not making that kind of money, we all have met at least one dude who will do what he needs to provide that to keep a woman, right? Like, call them simps, call them tricks, whatever you want to call them. Like, there are men out there that will stretch themselves thin to provide what a woman desires. But I think from the first video, what stuck out to me is the comment about women are confused about which one they are. I think that one's really interesting, because what really causes the confusion is the sales pitch. Like, we're pretending like women are not sold the dream that they're either the friend or the forever, when really men are classifying them as a freak. So like, yes, women need to close their legs. I'm not saying that women need to spread their knees. What I am saying is that there are a lot of times where men will put on the facade of being the forever to get her to spread the knees, right? Yes, you should stay steadfast, right? I'm still advocating for women to stay steadfast, But there is a whole campaign that comes behind that convinces women that there's something they're not. It's not a confusion out of their imaginary fairy tale, right? Like they're being sold this fairy tale and buying into it.
Okay, you said that very eloquently. Now I'm gonna put it in real ass terms. Niggas be tricking. Period. So on the second video, dudes will give a chick whatever he want to get whatever she want so he can bust it down.
Yeah.
Dudes do that.
Yeah.
Period. Like I got to go against you on that one, Coach K. Even if you're
So-
making $25,000, you will give $5,000. You will give 1/5 of what you got to this female.
What about his bills?
No, so Coach K,
No, that ain't how we do
sorry,
it.
it hurt.
I'm gonna keep it
Well,
100 with you.
Coach K, you're looking at
Oh.
this from the logical perspective of what men make. This is probably why black men have so much pushback on the salary thing, because I have never made what's down on paper that I'm making ever. The term hustle man is describing black men, right? So it's like people, we make 45K. Where? I once made 150K as a junior in college selling sneakers. Like, you know what I'm saying? Throwing
I
parties.
support not claiming that for sure.
But what I'm saying is some of these guys are scammers. Some, they live in apartments with their homeboys, their moms. This is crazy. We had an incident in my community where a mother rented a home for her son and his friends, and they were making what's those blue pills called, and got busted. Everybody was like, that doesn't happen in this neighborhood, but that's what's going on. So these men are tricking. If you go to these areas like Miami, this is what you will see. There are people driving around rented Lamborghinis with no place to live.
Now,
and every bit of money they get off of a scam or anything, they're just tricking out on boats. And, it's like some kind of free sex hedonism culture fueled by the money women think men have. And if they get a scam, it goes good. They drop the lady 2 stacks, go get a BBL, and that just keeps the whole thing rolling. It's terrible. But
now I'm gonna address the first video again. Inaz, you said it so eloquently and so beautiful. There are men that will say what they need to say to keep a woman exactly where she's at. We will keep her in confused freak zone as long as we can. We know what she's good for. We will never marry that. We will do as best we can to not marry that chick, not to make promises to that chick. But we will say what we need to say to continue to get you to drop them draws.
So
Now,
then what's the problem with the friend zone chick then?
I'm moving up the list. The platonic chick, I'm gonna keep it real. There are things that I can say to a chick that I cannot say to my homeboys. There's just things that I can't say because there's certain things I want to hear back that men won't say back. Men will say shit like, "Hey, bro, get your ass together," or they'll tell me the truth, bro. You fucking up. Y'all women, y'all lie too. Y'all like, oh, it's okay. That's why I keep you around. I don't want to bust you down. You're a 3. I'm good, but I keep you around so we can have us a conversation.
So let me ask you a question. Where is the humanity?
Wait, would you bust a 3 down on Cinco de Mayo though if you had enough to drink?
Yeah, definitely. Wait, what's the last one? You had one more for us.
There's one more. The marriage woman. She is a combination of both. She is a freak.
A freak and a friend. The freaky friend.
I can have certain types of conversations with her, but I can show her off to my dudes. She's eloquent enough to fit in spaces that I need her to fit in. The freak is likely not going to fit in some of those spaces without a whole bunch of coaching. And I'm sure not taking my home girl to fit in those spaces. There's a reason why me and my home girl ain't probably ever went out and hung out in public. I'm just keeping it 100. Like, ain't no point in us lying about this.
Let me ask you.
Go ahead.
But let me ask you a question. At the end of the day, I never understood. This is just how I am because I'm an Alabama girl. I don't feel comfortable lying to people. Like, I always think that comes back on you. Like, I'm cursing my household because I'm lying to somebody. I've always felt the need to put myself in somebody else's shoes. Like, I wouldn't want you to treat me a certain way, so I won't treat you a certain way. So I try to move in a way that's not conniving. The devil, the serpent. You understand what I'm saying? And so I think that people today, they have this demon mentality where they feel like it's okay to lie to people, to manipulate people. And I just feel like, what happened to souls? Like, you not feeling okay with doing. I think that we took the humanity out of the whole situation. Like, who cares what that person thinks? I don't care about, hurting this person's feelings, and I'm like, what happened to just being a good person and just being honest? Why does it have to always be about you being selfish?
Because I need my freak to remain my freak.
But
I can't let her know. I cannot let this girl know. Wait, I understand that. I didn't say it wasn't.
Well,
but I can't let her know
like morals.
That
I used to think that people were inherently good and inherently honest, and
they're not today, baby.
And well, no, I've done research, and that is actually not true. What
You're not allowed to have morals in this space either. I was told last week,
people
so
are
go
not.
on.
People are not inherently honest. What it is this is why we keep talking about shame. People will do whatever is they strive to do what is morally corrupt until they are corrected. It's like an easy way out type of strategy. Like, it's always fun. Think about it. Everything you're not supposed to do tastes better, is more fun, is more gratifying, releases more dopamine, right? So who said it? It was one of those movies like Avengers. Loki was like, you were made to be ruled. That is true. People need to be told what to do. They need religion. They need an order to follow. They need rules in school, or else they will choose this. And notice that unfortunately, they said it, the LBGYN culture and feminism, the one thing they had to remove to get their way is shame.
What's the end? What's the end?
It's a non-algorithmic way to say it.
I just wanted to bring this full circle.
It's also indicative of how women help perpetuate that culture. That's what I'm saying.
Like an OBGYN? Got it.
You like that.
All right, so to close out, I wanted to bring this full circle. So when you hear in these spaces where men say, ladies, keep your legs closed, that's how you don't become the freak. Ladies, keep your legs closed. That's how you
how you become the friend?
Wait. That's how you move from the friend to the wife.
Do these same parents also tell you?
But as long as there's a freak.
Listen, do these parents also teach you to live your life in the right way? Stop manipulating people. Baby, your life is cursed, and you're not striving in life because of the way you treat people.
I don't we don't treat you bad. Like, that's the other part. It's not like in our minds.
Listen, if you're lying to somebody trying to get something, but that's stealing. You're stealing the vagina, just like she's stealing your money.
Whoa!
It's manipulation.
Stealing the vagina? Is she a lifeless robot?
You can manipulate. It's a form of manipulation. Whether you can sugarcoat it all you want to. What's right is right. It's a form of manipulation. When you can manipulate your life and feel good about yourself all day long. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't feel right doing people wrong. That's for men and women. The fact that you can sit there and lie in somebody's face and not care about their well-being, that says a lot about you and your character. Period.
I want to know how you steal vagina.
Ego-driven on both sides.
So look.
I want to know how you steal vagina.
I think I'm like either walked along in parallel.
I'm sorry, I go to church.
I can see the shift in generations, right? So we was raised under the lie, deny it wasn't me era. Like, you never admitted to nothing. You always kind of led people along.
Die with the lie.
Lie, deny it wasn't me, right? Nowadays, these young men, and I'm championing the movement, got the audacity to just tell the truth. And that's why it's a lot more just casual sex going on, because they can just, it is what it is. It's nothing
more.
According
to the stats, they're having less sex. According to the stats, the men are having less sex.
Be honest.
You might as well put a little white lie to keep the freak around. I'm just saying.
Like,
for me back in the day,
I think what used to happen with under the Freak Act was You could go in, lead. You could go in and lead with. No,
did you say under the Freak Act?
Yeah, like
it's a law.
Kinda.
I didn't even know that.
You could go into the situation like I'm just trying to have sex. It's nothing, you know what I'm saying? But after you hit 3 or more times, then we talked about this with Mr. Lego, where you get tricked into a relationship or you get tricked into somebody convincing themselves that it's more, because you might start taking liberties. Like some people might slip the condom off. Some people might actually spend the night. Some people might, you know what I'm saying, do stuff that hints to women that it's more than just, you know what I'm saying, a freaking. You know what I'm saying? So
take your ass home.
A lot of people don't. A lot of people start pillow talking around 3 and 4. Remember, I was telling Miss Lego, I'm like, man, it's rules to that stuff. They wrote you a manual, a step-by-step booklet. You need to get 10 things to know before you go in. Number 1, you remember this conversation?
I do, actually.
And Mr. Lego was like, yeah. He been tricked into a couple relationships and didn't know how to get up out of them. So he was like, all right, I'll just stay because I don't got nothing better to do. I don't agree with that, but people be doing that type
live in freak.
Yeah, and then you marry a freak. Yeah. People be doing that type of stuff. People be doing that type of stuff. But the main thing is nowadays, I think you don't got a lot of nobody because they're a lot of themselves. So you can't really be held responsible for what's going on. So back then in our generation, yeah, we was lying to keep people.
Like it doesn't even necessarily require a lie. Like, hey, where you see this going? I'm just going with the flow. All right, cool. And then I'm gonna take your kid juice boxes. I'm walking out. Like, what? Like, man,
so you taking from the kids.
It sounds
look, you're taking the Punu and the juice boxes.
The Capri Suns
and the Capri Suns.
Hey. If I was hungry, I probably had a bowl of cereal too.
It sounds like
this.
Go ahead.
Why do we think one is, to me, in both scenarios, I felt like they were both snakes. Why is it that we think it's okay for one, but it's not okay for the other? We can sit here, let's just be honest. We sit here and we try to preach doing right, so we want women to do right. But what are we doing right for if men are manipulating what's right? Hurt people. Everything is a consequence. So if you continuously getting played and you like, dang, he don't even want me for just sex and you're manipulating me, it's going to be a combat and vice versa. He may be like, oh, she just want me for money. I'm going to play her. It seems like it's a tit for tat and nothing is getting on point and nothing is going to be right because they're just too busy out here trying to hurt people and people have become numb to other people's feelings. They don't care. And now we live in a society where we're reaping the consequences are there.
It sounds like people. Go ahead, Enos.
No, go ahead. I'll go after you.
Okay, I'll be quick. It sounds like on both sexes are not being intentional and not thinking long term. And in order to do so, you have to even know what you want and communicate. Like, why are we not just being upfront and communicating? It's like, but we'd rather just waste. Because you're wasting your time first, you're wasting your time if you're not being intentional. But if you're not communicating also, you're wasting your own time, especially ladies. Hello. And his time. And it's so reckless. I don't understand.
Before Enos goes, I know you want to go real quick. This is one thing I want to point out. The older you get, the easier it is to be completely upfront and honest. The older women get, the easier it is for them to accept that honesty. Because I can go to a bar and let's say all I want is something for the night. The older the woman is, the easier it is for her to hear me say, hey, look, I'm not looking for anything serious. You want to do something tonight? You say that to a younger girl, back when I was younger, like, oh no, what you think I am, a hoe? Well, yeah, I do, but I mean,
but you can only respect the honesty. I don't think that necessarily, if a man comes to you, he doesn't know you. It's a perception. So he can say, I can think, yeah, you can think everybody in the building is a hoe. You can go to church and think everybody a hoe. It's just a thought, So it's up to you and how you respond So no, I'm not down for that. That's not how I move. But the point is, I can respect anybody who is honest in the situation. It is when the dishonesty comes, if you're sitting here playing like you want a relationship with somebody and you know you don't, you just want to get in their pants, you are being dishonest.
So
people
two parts.
Decisions.
Yeah, so I want to respond to AP, like AP, and then make the statement about the original question. So AP, it's the same women. It's the same women that when you were younger you couldn't talk to that way, who now at this point in life are willing to accept it, right? Like there's a growth process, whereas the younger women now are just as willing to have that same conversation that you're willing to have with these women that have matured to that place. So I think it's a change in mentality in women as a whole, right? In terms of that. And I think goes to like what Marcus was, or Mike, I'm not sure who it was, who was saying about like women are willing to lie to themselves. I think that's become a common culture in women across all age brackets. But Shan, to what you were saying, I think we do this thing sometimes where like we really demonize people on their actions because we take it personally because we're on the receiving end of it, right? At the end of the day, there's a whole lot of people who grew up in either dysfunctional homes, single parent homes, they grew up with their grandparents, or like, you know what I mean? Whatever situations that they went through, it's self-preservation. They see it as survival mechanism, even though on another side of it, when we're not personally affected, we look at it as just sex. We look at it as just, a fling. We look at it as a situationship. These are people who are starving for connection, who are doing what they need to be able to like live life. They just released a study about how lack of human connection is just as bad as like terminal illness. Like it has physical repercussions, right? People are so desperate to connect that it really is survival. And I think on the receiving end, we look at it and we're like, you're such a bad person for doing this. They need it, right? And instead of having the conversation of like, hey, here are alternative ways to get what you need, we're looking at them, we'll be like, bad. And yes, shame is a very powerful tool and it has a really great function. However, applied the wrong way, it's really counterintuitive, right? And I think the moment we can kind of start to look at the humanity of people, of like why they're doing this and not strictly out of maliciousness, we can start to like be like, okay, here's how we would handle that differently, right? Not necessarily therapy, but like coaching, mentorship, or leading by example. Unfortunately, there just aren't enough examples of people who are doing it the right way and getting the results that they need, versus the people who are doing it and replicating it through like manipulative tactics.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. That doesn't work for me. When you're doing wrong. When you're lying to people,
my thing is what you were saying, the manipulation aspect, because if you're honest, there is a woman or some women that are willing to still sleep with you even if you're honest. The problem comes when it is you want that one and she's not willing to sleep with you if there's some standards or strings attached to having sex with her, and because is your ego or you feel this is what I want and I'm going to have it by any means necessary. So you do the things that you do in order to get it. What I'm saying is you want it. Yes, you can have is a need, but it doesn't mean you need it from her. Like if Shan, let's say you're honest with her, and this is just an example. You're honest with her, and she's willing to give it to you, and Inaz isn't, but you want to do it with Inaz. My thing is, why go and lie with Inaz when she set a standard for the way she wants to give it up? Just go to Shan. If you're
because I ain't done it yet.
Hold on, y'all. This is why fathers and fathers' logic is so important.
Oh, I agree.
This is why a father's logic is so important. This is why men do not default to trying to control all men for the safety of women. it will never happen because you understand the nature of men. Therefore, you plead with your daughter and you protect her to close her legs.
Answer that question, Mike.
Hold on. Why do we always talk about women in this sense like y'all are lifeless robots that are here at the mercy of men? You have 100% choice in the matter to keep your legs closed and deny men. Listen, the one thing we know as men, it doesn't matter how many men we correct, it only takes one to impregnate all of you. Only one. So unless we get 100% compliance, which is perfection, and we know perfection does not exist, that one person can spoil the entire bunch. So what we do is tell our daughters, because we know how men are, protect the one thing you have to give, the most sacred thing to you to get you what you want at the end of your life, which at the end of the road is marriage, children, to a capable, high-functioning man. Keep your legs closed. That's why we always default to that. These men are hunters. Their one goal in life. I just the same way I cannot stop a bear from going to eat his prey. I cannot stop a man for trying to get in a woman's legs. It's impossible. It's the one thing every man is trying to do for the entirety of their life.
I don't think that I don't
Absolutely.
think that
I'll answer your question, Miss Taken.
Okay, yeah,
if I've already climbed Everest, now it's time to climb Kilimanjaro. It goes back to exactly what Mike said.
No, what I'm saying is you haven't climbed either. So what I'm saying is you haven't climbed either. You go to Shan and you say, listen, kind of like the speech that you said if you were in a bar, I just want one night. I really don't, I'm not looking for anything serious. We could just have fun or whatever, right? You go to Ina and Shan like, okay, I'm not saying you would, but then you go to Ina's and you get the different response, and she's like, well, nah, I'm not with that. I don't get down like that. I'm only in relationships or what have you. That's it. So you have two women that both of them have laid what their standard is. You're honest with both of them. She gives you the answer of saying no is a standard with me that in order for me to do this, I have to be in a relationship. Shan is saying, okay, we can have fun. I don't mind. So why not go with Shan?
I will the first time.
She's down with it. But because Inaz don't want to be down with it,
Hold on, y'all.
Now you're gonna start being manipulative and promising Inaz a relationship just so you can smash and then you leave.
Let me because again, the girl is the lifeless robot who can't think for herself. But there are two things here. We can't. So y'all are trying to act like bad men don't exist and will manipulate. A woman for those particular men, it's a woman's job to not let him. But the funny part is that we always characterize this in a way that makes the woman innocent. The women are actually more guilty, and let me explain. Because Marcus hit it spot on when he said a lot of these dudes aren't lying; they're honest. We've all done that dance with a woman where she actually told you what Mistaken said when she was like, "No, I have rules. No, you're gonna need to get with this. You're gonna need to commit to this." And you literally leave her alone. You leave her alone. She calls you and say, what's going on? Be like, yeah, I'm not really looking for a relationship right now. And you were right. You know what I mean? It was cool hanging with you. You dope. But, I'm chilling, give it a few days. Let that marinate. That girl dropping the drawers for you at your door. Now she hunting you because you rejected her. That's how it usually goes down. It is not us trying to manipulate these women. The second you reject them and they're sexually attracted to you and they don't feel like they won't have any other access to your heart. They try to get to your heart through your bed. That is how it happens. I guarantee
that is a fact, sir.
No, listen.
So hang on 1 second, because that's one part of it, right? But at the same part, I think this is this weird double standard, right? Because women will often add pressure to see if a man is really about what he's talking about. Men do the same to women, right? And this is where the accountability to women is really key. If a woman says these are my standards and a man applies pressure, if you buckle, you're immediately classified as one of the freaks because you yourself have not maintained your standards. right? And I think that's really why men try, right? Like, do you really mean what you say? Or can I get away with whatever I can get away with because you don't actually mean it? I think there are too many women who don't stand on it. I know you're about to disagree, but
let me just say this. I think the problem is commitment is one thing, marriage is another thing. I think the problem is we think just because he's with me that is going to lead to something different than just.
But Shan, that's exactly what I'm getting at, right? Like if you're communicating to a man, I'm not parting my knees until I get marriage, but then you're parting your knees when you get commitment.
Some people say commitment, they don't say marriage.
But even at that, but some people say commitment and then they mean marriage, and then, like, you know what I mean? So a man's gonna get away with whatever you allow him to, right? And so, not to take full blame off of the men who are actually manipulative, right? Because there are that group of men, but there are a whole lot of women who falter on their lack of clear communication, right? They're afraid to say what they really want, and so they soften the blow and change the goalposts later, right? And then blame it on manipulation, right? Not to say that there aren't men that manipulate, there are, but women too need to stay steadfast on their standards if they truly mean it.
I was trying to make that point 7 comments ago before y'all double dutched and kept me about the game.
All right, Marky Mark.
So first, I want to say all the way back in the beginning, I think that was an interesting point you brought up about the necessity to touch each other or connect as a survival mechanism, because things done under survival it widens the, like, somebody might not sell drugs until they're in survival mode. They might not kill until they're in survival mode. So the wash of what is a socially acceptable behavior changes when you in that lowest rung of the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Also, when Shane, you was talking about earlier that you don't see how people could lie and deceive somebody, and the men are doing all the, like, you know what I'm saying, just sit there and bold-faced lie in front of somebody. I would say women do the exact same thing, but just in a different way. Like, that was the point earlier. When you know for a fact you want that relationship, and the only thing you can get is sex, and you try and finesse your way into a relationship, that's
a good one, Marky Mark.
And then on Law and Order, I seen this episode that said they charged this dude with theft by deception because he was pretending to be a college entrance professor, and he was sleeping with mothers of teenagers, pretending to be an admissions officer. So the mom was giving them the box in order to get their kids in college, in the school, and they charged them with it. So I'm thinking, like, if he could be charged for that, which is super wrong, can a woman be charged for presenting herself with makeup and a fake body in a way that's deception?
You know that happened. You know, in China, the doctor married and he sued her because she was ugly. He said she was like,
it was fake.
Oh, it was fake.
Come on, now. Come on.
It was.
Well, I think it all boils down. This is where it can go either way with misunderstanding cues, because I know a lot of times, you know, we say in this space, watch what a man does, not just what he says. So honestly, and I have shared this before, when my husband and I first met, I can respect the fact that he was honest with me. And the fact that when I felt like I really, you know, I want a relationship, I want to be with him, that he was upfront and honest and was like, you know, I'm not looking for a relationship right now. Like, I don't want to be in a relationship, but I think you dope. It's cool when we hang out. I like chilling with you, all of that. But
you called to give him the draws.
Right. He was like, I don't want to be in a relationship. So, like a lot of women, and I'm not going to say most women, in my mind, I'm thinking, like saying, okay, I'm cool with that. I understand. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool, thinking that the more time I spend with him, he's going to like me more and want to be in a relationship with me. And I think it got to a point where it just didn't. And then I felt like I was being manipulated in a sense, but it wasn't, because he That's what I'm saying. He was totally honest. And the way I say I felt like I was manipulated was because of the time that was spent and what we did when we spent time together. Right. It felt like it was a connection. It felt like, if in my mind, like it felt like we were together, like he cooking food for me and, stuff like that. So the signals in my mind were crossed because I'm like, if you just want to be cool, you want to be friends, you won't do stuff like this. Like this is the stuff that you do when you're in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And I think that is where women get it twisted. In his mind, you here with me, I'm cooking because I'm hungry. So I'm gonna go ahead and share it with you. Like that could be his mindset. But my mindset is like, oh, see, he really liked me. And he cooking some food. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's what happened. But it wasn't until I decided, you know what, I can't do this because I'm in love with this dude.
Yep.
And he's not. So once I got to the point where I had to step away. And once I did, then it was a matter of him realizing, wow, like I'm missing something now. So I think it was an issue of him taking it for granted that I was going to be there. And he didn't, he had, plausible deniability. If I'm like, I want to be with, he was like, nah, you know what this is, you know what I'm saying? So once it got to the point where I stepped away, then it was like the backtrack. It just happened to work out for me. I think I am in the, not the norm situation.
That used to work in the past.
Yeah,
let me ask you.
But I really don't think that's typically
outdated.
what happens.
Let me ask you, did y'all leave sex out of it if you feel comfortable saying it?
Did we leave? No, that's why my ass fell in love with him. I never got it like that before in my life. I'm gonna be honest. Let me just say this. In Buffalo, it be snowing. I was riding a bike
I can't even say what I was gonna say now. I was about to make a whole thing about courtship.
I'm gonna be honest. So it was like for me,
dickmatized. That's called dickmatized, ladies and gentlemen.
That connection for me was so.
She had a connection. Let me just say,
that connection for me was so real. Like, so
it was called.
And I never experienced the things that I had experienced with him on a sexual level.
It's called oxytocin.
He had my mind. That's really what it was. I'm honest. That's what it was.
Let me just say this. I love the fact, I'm glad you brought this up, Marcus, because you are absolutely right. A lot of times women aren't honest in the situation as well. Women will get in a situation and say that they're okay with something.
We lie to ourselves.
To not be okay with it. So it's manipulation because you are manipulating him as well. You are sitting here saying, I am in agreement to the man who is honest with you. I agree with the situation that you're okay with not being in a situation, but in your heart, you want to be in a committed relationship. You are now lying to him. So I think that you're right. It goes both ways.
Yeah, that's literally the equivalent of a girl telling you, I'm not gonna have sex with you tonight, and then giving you sex that same night, right? I don't want to be in a relationship. You give him enough sex, and he end up in a relationship. It one day might be a Men Too movement where men put their wives and ex-girlfriends on trial for tricking them in the years.
This whole goddamn, we got kids and everything.
So I was just trying to hit, and I told you that. Now we got 10 kids.
Now we got 10
and a 401k share.
He kept on hitting. If he got 10 kids, he ain't stopped.
I told you.
Yeah, but that's where I think women, as women, we go wrong. Like in that situation, I could never, or I shouldn't, although I did, I couldn't blame him. Because he was honest with me up front. And it was me lying to myself, thinking that it was going to be more than what it was, even though he told me it wasn't. Regardless of what cues he was doing, whatever, I misread everything because I was looking at it from a perspective of because I wanted to be with him. So whether he made food, in my mind, I'm looking at it like, oh, see, that's relationship stuff. But it wasn't. it wasn't, and he was clear on that. So I can't get mad at him. And I think a lot of times that as women, that's what we do. We get mad at the man when the man, even when he's honest with us, because we think in our mind stuff is going to change if I just stay with him a little longer, if I'm, do this a little more, if I turn it up this way a little more, if I cook food, if I do. So we think doing all of these things are going to change his mind. But at the end of the day, he's just getting the benefits without the responsibility.
So
and then,
yes,
you got lucky. You got lucky.
Well, I really did.
You got lucky.
Really did. But it took me to my focus was on him. But once I focused on me and decided, I knew my heart couldn't take that anymore, because I'm in love with a man that I had to come to terms that didn't love me, or at least I felt like he didn't. And so once I made that decision that I can't do that, and I removed myself from the situation, and luckily it turned out like later on we end up doubling back and got together, but got together in the way that at that point it was very clear to me that we were in a relationship. Because in hindsight, when I look back, he never spent any money on me. He never any of those things. It was really me giving. I'm giving you my meal card. Like, yeah, go ahead and eat. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to eat all of this food. All of those things. I was the one giving, staying up in the lab with him, typing papers. You know what I'm saying?
You just validated what I said before.
Yeah, I earned a Tuskegee degree and an Auburn degree, because I promise you, my boyfriend who played football, I promise you, that grade was mine. It was not his. I did all that.
He calling like, yo, I'm gonna be in the lab. Can you come? You see
what I'm saying? There was a few that you validated what I said, where I was like, damn, Shorty is dope. And people, for some reason, every woman thinks she can cure your emotional unavailability. I was emotionally unavailable because I just got out of this woman fucked my head up. You see what I'm saying?
He had just got out of a relationship too.
She's still in the picture. Every time she see us in the library together, or the girl that was trying to get with me, and she will start doing crazy shit to stay on my mind, stay on my radar, or she'll come by the room and just wham bam and then disappear. Like, you see what I'm saying? So you're trying to tell the other girl, God, you're so dope. But I swear, if I'd have met you before her, we'd be together. But that woman is still in the picture, and you try and mistaken. That's why I say you got lucky. The girls that usually end up saying, you used me the dude told them, please, you don't want to board the Titanic. Nope, they come. And
I felt used. I'm not gonna lie, I did. But again, I can't blame him. It was me. I know it was me.
Now here's where men gotta take some accountability, because I told this to let go of this back then. You gotta have a 3 times sex like rule, and then no more, or you gotta ration the D off correctly. You can't just go in and get
I was showing up at the house unannounced.
No, look, I did that at college one time. I was just random. I was freely giving boyfriend and husband quality to a young lady. I thought I was gonna get in a relationship. She tried to kill herself. Self-delete.
Oh, I know a girl that did that too.
Wait, go back, rewind. What you just say?
I was giving her relations that was reserved for a relationship type of relations. Mm-hmm. And when I decided I actually wanted to get in a real relationship, she tried to take her own life. And then when I went to go see about it, then she lied and said that I was over there because I was still in love with her, not because we still cool. I don't want you to pass. It was a whole thing.
She threatened it to keep you around.
I shouldn't have been doing what I was doing, how I was doing. I knew what I was doing. I was getting my ego stroked out of being able to do that. And you know what I'm saying? And you got to ration that. That's a dangerous thing. Like you can literally die behind that.
I know a girl in high school, the same thing.
Yeah,
it was an older guy.
Because they some of these girls are not, they don't have that backbone, like that confidence. And then some people go after, because I've seen it at my school. You know, you got that good quiet girl, and then you go after that good quiet girl who ain't never been out. You get in her mind, she's easily manipulated, and you done show her things she ain't never experienced before. You probably her first.
Yep.
And next thing you know, we trying to get her down at the bathroom. You know, it's happened. And it sucks because nobody ever thinks of the consequences of your actions. People think that everybody can handle it. People think that they're just like you. Oh, everybody does it, but you don't ever think about that other person. And that's just sad that
do you know what it is too? If it's worse after y'all have maybe done it one time and he's trying to tell you, because it's usually a woman with not a lot of experience hunting after the experience of that man. Like, you know, that's why they tell you. I was giving out as an RA. I was telling, yo, don't mess with these freshmen, bro. We've been in school for years. We done developed some moves, some tricks. They will follow you around the campus, bro. Like, do not do that to them, you know.
I was a freshman.
Oh, man.
I ain't giving up to my
You are making my point. You are making, they will follow. I made this mistake as a junior, and I went around telling all the young frat, everybody, do not, you know, I was the logical one. I've always been logical. I've tried to have trigger Mike energy my whole life. It didn't work when I was younger. They'd be like, shoot, you tripping. And I see them in the corner of the frat party, like, yo, these girls look so damn young. And when you just hear, like, you know, we had suites. We didn't have dorm rooms. We had suites. You would be like, I hope that's not what he's doing to that girl in that room. And she's sitting there, whoa, whoa. Like, you're like, oh God, she's gonna follow you around the campus like a puppy dog, knocking on the door unannounced, asking where you are. Like, did he ask you to come here? Like, that's the behavior that type of stuff inspires. And it's really because you're not supposed to give that type of experience to women who are unexperienced. And, you know, I advocate for that a lot.
So that goes back to like what I was saying earlier, right? Like when you're in survival mode, right? Like whether it's trauma or otherwise, you don't have the capacity to think about other people. Like physiologically, and Shane, you can make that face. It is scientifically proven. Your brain does not have the capacity to consider another person's feelings because your survival is at stake in your brain. Right?
I don't know because he had a whole lot of other stuff available to him.
No,
so it wasn't survival.
No. So here's
that's
the thing,
right?
Like, that point. Right. So like the brain is like a really fascinating thing, right? Like the way that it functions is truly like, I don't know that we will ever understand it no matter how much time we have time to study it, right? The things it picks up that we can't on a conscious level is like absolutely phenomenal, right? Like two berries that look identical, somehow in your reptilian part of your brain, you will instinctively know what is poisonous and what is not, right? This idea of going for the good girl is also like this instinctive thing in a man to want to be attached to a woman who is not attached to 150 men.
Yep.
Right? Like there's this instinctive of like wanting, regardless of your intentions, right? Because survival, regardless of your intentions of what you're planning to do, you still want to be attracted to good women. And I think that's the part where a lot of women really struggle, right? Like just because you are a good woman does not necessarily mean that that man is going to see you as a wife if you are not moving as a wife, right? If you violate your own standards, your own ethics, your own moral code, you disqualify yourself. No matter how much you care about that man, no matter how amazing he presents himself to be, that like you need to have those standards for yourself. Yes, there are some men out there who are not in survival mode, who have the mental capacity to be like, you know what, I don't want to take responsibility of the repercussions of this, and will remove themselves from the situation. However, like looking at the real world, when we look at jobs, when we look at family structures, when we look at trauma, when we look at like how intensive school can be, when we look at how competitive it is, when we look at like all of these factors, the majority of people, especially young adults, right, do not actually have the capacity to function in that thought process. They're not built like that, to the point where like science has actually determined the fact that like the human brain doesn't fully mature until the age of 24. How old are you in college?
Okay, so we're talking. I'm talking about
18 to
grown.
22.
Okay,
I was 17 when he first saw me. 18
No,
when we.
I'm talking,
like that's
I'm
what
not
I'm
talking
getting.
about kids will do kid things. I'm talking about grown folk.
But again, like we talked about this like some time ago, right? Like this like arrested development that people go through where mentally they stay at the age of the trauma that was inflicted on them. So you could be 42, but if your trauma was at 14, you have not emotionally, mentally matured past that point. Right. So like we're seeing like grown bodies and we're identifying them as like these fully functioning adults, but they haven't done the necessary work to be like function at the capacity of somebody else who's at their equivalent.
So let me
I
ask you.
also think part of it too is societal norms that encourage the behavior too. So if you have societal norms that encourages that behavior, there is no need to move forward beyond the trauma or whatever, because society is reinforcing the behavior as normalized. So
I agree with the societal norm. I think that has a great deal to do with it. But do we have to, if you're going to say that about manipulation on both sides, because there are women who manipulate men too, so it has to be the same grace. You know, the women who go out on dates and they don't have with men just to get a free meal, or the women who go out their man's pockets or friend zones a guy just for what she can get out of him. They have to have the same grace because they're siblings. They grew up in the same household. So as long as we're extending that same grace, which I think is BS, I think at a certain age, you need to grow up a little bit. You knowing you're right and wrong.
But that's what I'm saying, Shane. Like people's perceptions of right and wrong are different based on their life experience.
That's true.
Right? Like that's the key point of what I'm saying. Like your brain determines right and wrong differently based on where your brain is stuck at. So like I agree, and like we've been on these panels often enough for you to know that like I hold the same grace for both genders and the same accountability for both genders. Like BS is BS, right? But I think if we're going to bring the human component back into it of like actual human beings, it makes a whole lot of sense that like people get stuck and people don't see the world the way that everybody else sees the world, especially when you're stuck in that whole fight, flight, freeze, and fawn stage, right? Like your brain has actually shut down so many critical parts of it in order to keep you surviving.
Yeah. Didn't we talk about this before? Mistaken. Would you not agree with?
Say it again.
Didn't we talk about what
the cognitive dissonance? Yeah. Yep.
I want to add to that, and I want to look into the science about the brain fully developing, because that is pretty much true, but also too, your brain develops also based on experience. So it's going to be affected by that trauma, or because some people are saying now that Gen or Gen Z is, they're kind of coddled and they're kept safer, and they're doing things later on now. Like 18-year-olds are kind of functioning now at like as 14-year-olds, and so on. And we can talk about this another time. However, so see, of course, I just lost my damn train of thought. Oh, wait, hold on. Nope, see, just freaking lost it. That's brain fog for you.
So let me ask you a question and it goes into the next video. Let me just play it real fast, okay? Because we're and it's gonna be the same topic. It just goes from another standpoint. Okay, give me 2 seconds.
Love themselves so much that they think they deserve the men that they no modern women. Stop. Modern women love themselves so much that they think they deserve the men that they sleep with, even though those men do not commit to them. Do you think? And then they come back and scream trauma.
Well, that's clearly another generalization, because as we saw by the dudes in my past videos, men create these connections sometimes, right? If these men are faking the connections with the women before they sleep with them, how are they not caught off guard? So it's not always that I deserve this out of thin air. It's the fact that he put in the effort to make it seem like he wanted a long-term situation. He lied about his true persona and his intentions in order to get what he wanted. And then when he got what he wanted, he then left. So now this person is sitting there rethinking every date they had, every conversation that was had, all the promises that were made. questioning not only that person, but their own self-worth and their own ability to vet the person out. So this take is general, and you can't label all modern women under this umbrella or all women as a whole.
So what do you guys think? That goes back to who was just talking? Who was just talking?
Me?
Oh, yeah, I think it was...
Oh, sorry. I thought I was muted. Was it me? Even though I lost my train of thought.
No, I had said that earlier about, you know, when I was comparing you and Inaz together in terms of, you know, the person lied to Inaz because that's who he want to be with. And I think it's probably because, I guess now that I think about it, it's kind of what Trigger Mike said, that if Inaz was the one to put the boundaries up and Shan was saying that she was with it, because he know that he can get Shan and Shan's with it, the hunt is going to be with Inaz. And that's when Inaz become the target, so to speak, because now she told me, no, I'm not going to take no for an answer. So I'm going to do what I need to do because I have to conquer that, which really sucks, because then that creates a situation in which Inaz may feel like she's in a relationship like I did, you know, feel like she's in a relationship, then is like, okay, I'm gonna give it up. And then he dips because he was like, I conquered what I wanted, I got what I wanted, I'm out. And now
I said that
trauma.
Yeah, so I said that. Trigger Mike said the opposite, right?
Oh,
where when a woman says no and a man says, all right, cool, then she becomes the hunter out of her own ego. So just to clarify, that was Trigger Mike's point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let me just clarify how uncomfortable I felt being in that scenario. And it's important.
It's a scenario.
Listen, let me just say this. It's important for me to keep saying it because, you know, JR clips these things and I don't need to understand the fact that Shantae would never. Okay.
Right. So watching that video again, this is why we need fathers back in the home ASAP. Because we are responsible for the maturity of both our sons and our daughters, fully maturing. And this is what I mean by that. I now believe that a person is not fully mature until they can fully blame themselves for every negative occurrence that happens to them. If you get robbed, we now think in society that we just blame the bank robber. Do you know what my father would have done? He would have asked what I did to put myself in that position in the first place. That shit used to confuse the hell out of me when I was young. Now, as a man, I understand what he meant. Prevention is better than cure. Everything that happens to you, you have to find a way to understand your liability in it. And that is how we get a mature society. All right? I am not going to deal with the dude. If my daughter comes to me at 20 years old and says she's pregnant and he won't pick up the phone and I can't find this dude, I don't just want to find the dude. The first order of business is wondering why she was so stupid as to get too pregnant by a man who wouldn't pick up the phone to take care of his responsibility. That is the type of woman we need to be raising in this society. Prevention is better than cure. We're always trying to find the cure for something we've already done. I'm trying to prevent it from happening. That is where I don't care what the man did. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care what the man did. Men are out here hunting. Don't be prey. That is my ultimate point.
Well, I agree. But if we just got finished talking about maturity, because I totally agree with what you're saying. Totally agree. But if we're talking about maturity, then what you're saying don't necessarily apply, especially for a female, in the sense that I grew up with both parents in the house. I had my dad in the house. My dad talked to me about, you know, the conversation was just basically wait until you're married. That was his conversation. My daughter, she grew up in a house with her dad. And he's had now his conversations with her sometimes I felt was a little too raw, but looking back, I can appreciate it because he gave it to her 100%. So the idea for him, he was like, no, I don't want to say it any other way. I'm not sugarcoating nothing because she could never say she did not know. I'm giving her scenarios. I'm giving her examples. I'm even telling her what I did to girls. so she could never say she did not know. And even with all of that prevention, all of that information, it took one guy for her to meet, and all of that went out the window, because it's different when you're hearing things coming from your parents versus when you actually experience something totally different. And so I'm just saying, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Well, this is also what we're saying. So that is usually what happens when I make these type of statements. Everyone gives me an anecdote. But what we're talking about in the greater scale of things is that a father's intervention or that type of teaching is the difference between millions of single mothers and just a few.
Yeah, she don't have any children.
The only thing I disagree with,
she doesn't have any children.
Listen, the only thing I disagree with, I agree with everything that you're saying, but I disagree that we do not have to, it's just all on the woman. I think that it's important. I'm going to always teach my son to do right by people. It is also important. If I want him to be a leader and a good leader, he has to have values as well. And he needs to understand that he has to lead in a decent manner. So to say that it all belongs to the woman, I get the woman should close her legs, absolutely. But I'm going to also teach my son the right way that he needs to move in society, period.
Well, I mean, you're not going to get me to disagree with that. What I'm saying is I'm also acknowledging that I don't raise everybody's son. I only raise mine. You see what I'm saying? I cannot.
Sure. But
I cannot affect. Yeah, I cannot affect the bad teaching and or lack of teaching of other people's children. Therefore, I will teach mine.
Gotcha.
So I want to see this, right, and bring it like all the way back to like one of your first comments, Trigger Mike, right? Because Mistaken's example, I don't think is an anomaly. This goes to the point of like how important community is, because that's where like the aunties, the uncles, the cousins, the neighbors really come in, because let's not be oblivious to the fact that children don't always listen to parents, right? Because there's this perspective where like, oh, like that relationship taints the information to some degree in terms of being received. That's where the community really comes into play. That's where the community really becomes essential, where when now all of a sudden, because I'll say for me, right, like I don't have any children. I grew up with both parents, right? But I also had my aunts, my cousins, my uncles, family, friends, all of this stuff were reinforcing the same messaging that I was getting from my parents. So it was no longer just, oh, my parents are outdated. They don't know what they're talking about. Their time was different than mine. I do want kids, Isaiah. But like, it was more so like hearing it consistently from all of these different people that wanted the best for me, that were not just my parents, where like it made more sense, right? So back to like your original point, like community is so essential so that you don't have that. It's not just throwing it out the window, because there are all of these other people supporting it
with like-minded like values and such. And that's something too, not to go off, but with community and with family, especially when things happen, like just as I get older and things happen with family members that really is just a result of age or just really sad circumstances. It's like, what would we do if, well, in one of the situations, it's like, what do you do? Because if you don't have family members that can step up and that have the resources to help, and whether that's time or financial resources, it's like, what would you do? And that's what family's for, in whatever, capacity, and just community in general. And it just needs to be stressed even more so. But, and one other thing is, I will always encourage people, whether, and I don't have kids either, but whether I have boys or girls or whatever, I'm going to encourage them to take ownership and to have agency always over their own decisions and what happens. And of course, some things happen. People can be manipulative, but still, I'm going to question them and be like, okay, what choices, what were you thinking? What was going on with you? Because that's where your power lies as an individual, is the decisions you make. So That's all
I think that the more and more these videos start coming out, people are talking. I think that the new generation, it will almost be like you're just blind to it at this point. I think that it's easy for us because, you know, we didn't have the technology. Men weren't talking to women about what they were really thinking. Women weren't talking to men about what they were really thinking. So it left a gray area. Like nobody really knew. It wasn't really black or white. Now it's kind of in your face. Like we see the TikToks, we see most people have social media. So if you're still falling for the okie doke after maybe 2 years have gone by and you've seen it, it's kind of like it's you.
Okay, so I've been sitting here listening. I even and watched that video, and I'm about to say some opinions that probably aren't going to be very popular in the chat. Ladies, y'all talk too damn much. Y'all talk us into the box. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you. We listen. Wait a minute. We listen to everything you say. We let you talk about what you want to talk about. The reason for this is we're going to continuously pull out context clues to figure out what we need to do, what we need to say to get into those draws. Period. So this is what I challenge more young ladies and women to do. Listen more. Let him run the conversation. That will help you make the determination to figure out what this guy is really after. That will help you keep your legs closed, because the more you talk, the easier it will be for someone like who I used to be to get whatever goal I have set out for you.
But what if he talking that ish?
No,
because that's what.
No, wait.
That's
because
what happened
there's
to
some
my
things.
Because
Wait
he
a
was
minute.
telling me some ish I'd never heard before in my life. So that made
You
him.
were a freshman.
It was
Yeah,
just
it's a lot you ain't heard in your life.
Well, that's my point. It's the fact that I'm hearing stuff that I'd never heard before. So that made him even more attractive, because I felt like I was learning, like, oh, I never heard of nothing like this before. So yes, he is. I'm allowing him to talk more because I never heard nothing like this before in terms of conversation.
One of the things you gave him right out of the gate, like he could look at you and knew you were attracted to him. So the rest of it is just figuring out the little details. That's all the rest of it is. I'm going to keep it 100 with you.
Well, isn't the assumption is if you go out with somebody anyway that there's some level of attraction? Isn't that a given?
She was like, "Give me that."
Not in this era.
Yeah, kind of.
But yeah, that was the problem. Sometimes when you listen too much, that's how they get your mind. Like I've come to learn that as I got older, but that's how they get your mind. Like I can honestly say he got my mind first and my body followed. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And so at that point, I was a lost cause at that point.
Mistaken. Think through the conversations. Think through the conversations. Mistaken. Think through the conversations that you two had. Just think through them early on. Think about how much you were like, oh my God, I'm soaking this up. Let me say, oh wow, I like that haircut. I'm just throwing something out there, right? That's a clue to him. Okay, she likes this haircut. I'm gonna keep it like this until I get whatever it is that I'm after. Like, it's the little stuff that we pick up on that shit. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, we pick up on it. So if your goal is marriage, women, if that is truly your goal, speak a lot less, listen a lot more, pay attention to the consistency without giving away that you're paying attention to the consistency.
That's great advice.
Do what?
But it's gonna be. I say that's great advice, but it's really hard for women because we all know the more they like you, the more they talk. Like they be trying to convince you to be. You know what I'm saying? They get the they convincing you to like.
I'm trying to give them the keys to the Cadillac here.
But the thing is, especially if you've made us feel comfortable, if you created a safe space to make us feel like we can talk, we
That's our job, though.
But
like,
that's
we're gonna do that anyway. We're gonna make sure you're comfortable with speaking because we want you to speak more.
Y'all so messed up.
I'm telling you, that's what we do. We are hunters, and when hunter understands the prey, they know exactly how to set the traps to get what they're hunting for. But you ladies won't just sit back and instead of go ahead.
I flipped the script though.
Hang on, Misty. So AP, I have a question because I don't disagree with what you're saying, but like in terms of like practice, this question is really important, right? Because time and time again, women have heard men say that a certain level of reciprocity is important when a man considers a relationship. So my question to you is, how does a woman maintain a certain level of distance while still giving reciprocity in order to determine whether that man is actually a viable candidate or not?
Be available for him. That's the simple answer is when he's available, be available for him. That's like, so men, one of the things we value more than money is our time. So when we say, okay, hey, Wednesday, let's go hang out, me and you. Be available Wednesday. Make sure nothing comes up. We see that and we're like, okay, so she's digging me. And if we're not having like if the conversations, if we're not getting much conversation from you, we will keep talking to figure out exactly what's gonna make you talk. So you give just a little bit. Men we're great at this, and we've done it tonight. We've hit you with the oh yeah. Well, y'all went back and forth. Just the four of you went back and forth for probably about 12 minutes, give or take. And all we did was like, oh shit, what?
So let me take it like one step further because
okay.
I hear what you're saying, but I think there's still a little bit of disconnect in terms of practice, right?
Okay.
Marcus, I'm gonna let you answer right after him. I just want to follow this up, right? That's still not necessarily reciprocity because I think there are plenty of women that can make themselves available that are not necessarily engaging, that don't necessarily reciprocate interest, that aren't necessarily from what I've heard of men are showing up to like maybe have ulterior motives other than like who you are. They're either in it for your money or for the dinner dates or for a meal or whatever, right? So there's still a little bit of disconnect in the advice you're giving. So I need you to be a little bit more specific.
Absolutely. So flip it on the guy. What are we really good at? We're great at asking questions. So when you make yourself available, look at him right in the eyes when you're talking to him. When he says something, say, oh, whatever your natural response is, then follow it up with a question. Instead of talking about you, follow it up with a question about him while looking at him in the face. Then he's going to reply. You're going to say, oh, wow, that's awesome to know, or whatever your natural response is. Then you can give a little tidbit. Don't give a lot of information. Give a little tidbit about yourself regarding the question you asked, and then follow it up to lead into another question. Does this conversation sound very familiar on how men talk to women? I just want to know, does this sound like, oh yeah, no, my mom lives there. What do you think about such and such?
Okay, so what you're saying is correct. I can't really argue with what you're saying, AP. But check this out. Remember we differed on this one key thing a while ago when we was talking about this is to her reciprocity question. So I think for the way different men receive reciprocity might be different. Because I remember seeing a lot of episodes back that if you are trying to withhold sex from me, I won't just be like, oh, she's a wife because she's doing that. In fact, it'll make me feel like you're trying to play a game, and then I will play the game with you. And remember, I was saying I'm not judging nobody for sex on the first night and none of that stuff. You remember this conversation?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Vaguely.
And we disagreed on this point. I don't know how many other men feel the same way I feel about that, but it would seem as though I'm pouring into you and then you keeping from me. So to her reciprocity question, it would be a mercurial area. because it's kind of like person specific. In general, though, I think the advice you're giving is great advice, but where's the line at where it goes from she not that interested because she's not giving me the same type of result or attention that other women are. Yeah,
So
that's the question I think she has.
So then, okay, I'm glad you said that. So the next piece of this is, if you, let's say you go out to lunch. I'm just using this as an example. You go out to lunch. A good man typically will offer to pay for both, not you, for both. He'll likely turn it down, but he'll say, "Oh, okay," and then bring up, "Hey, when's the next time we're gonna hang out?" It's all in the details. It's the little detailed stuff, and that's the thing that men really latch onto. You're now learning about him, and you can learn his true intentions. But the more he divulges, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you this: the more he divulges to you, the more he pours out of who he really is, the more he's digging you.
Let me ask y'all this, because Jamal Clark brought up a point, and I'm gonna read what he said. He said, "Notice what," because I was about to ask y'all this question, but he kind of framed it for me. He said, "Notice what Mistaken is saying. Feel. Fathers, make sure she operates on no. Keep putting that in her head." So one of the things that I was gonna say, like women and men, we move through the world a little differently than each other, right? We can agree with that. Like with babies, they experience the world by putting things, in their mouth. That's the way they explore. That's the way they learn, right? So as women, a lot of times we experience the world through feelings. So when you are trying to teach a young lady, like, in high school, like when you start really, liking boys, I guess it's earlier now, like in middle school, but like in in high school, when you're really like having your crushes or about to go away to college and you haven't had any experience yet, what is it that you teach your girls? Because you can't say, don't operate off your feelings. I mean, you can say that. Don't get me wrong. You can say that. But what is an actionable step that you can have, I guess, teach your girls what to do with their feelings along with the other stuff? Because just saying don't operate with your feelings isn't going to work, because that is innate in us. But what would you say to your girls to, I guess, to kind of teach them, like, I know you're going to feel X, Y, and Z, and that's okay, but make sure you do, A, B, C, things like that, because I think that part is going to be helpful.
The dopest thing that I personally appreciate with women, y'all prefer honesty. Y'all prefer honesty. And that doesn't start when you get older. That's something that you guys, I think, that's kind of innate in you. You got to be honest with the girls. You got to be open, and you got to have first open dialogue. Like with my daughter, we have open dialogue. And with that, I can be as bluntly honest as I need to be to help her understand a point or a situation. And then from there, she can use her feelings, because that's one thing I don't like about y'all, is that y'all do get in y'all feelings, but make a rational and logical assessment and conclusion. The number one thing is having the conversation. Like, we have to be open to having the real conversation, not just keep your legs closed and close off your feelings. No. Nope, that's not what we did. You want to know what my daughter and I did? We actually sat and watched a video of exactly what chlamydia and gonorrhea was. We sat and watched a video of exactly what herpes looks like. Like, these are real conversations and real videos that we sat and watched. Were they uncomfortable? Yes, they were very uncomfortable. But we have to be open and honest, because you ladies and girls just value honesty above. It's insane to me how much y'all value real honesty, regardless of how bad it is. And sometimes y'all react poorly, but you come back and you're like, thank you for being being honest.
So one of the things that I'm doing to answer with my daughter right now, right? And I actually did this with my wife early in the relationship, right? The reason I'll argue with women or pretty much argue in a relationship is based off of me teaching somebody how to identify when they in their feelings and how to take a step back and then work the problem out and make sure that the way they felt is the same with answer. Like, so with my daughter, right? She wants cook.
I'm stealing that from you, by the way. I like what you were saying right there.
It's all yours. Look, she want Oreo cookies, right? And if she don't get an Oreo cookie, she start throwing a fit. Now, if she throw a real fit, I could break a cookie in half and give her the cookie. But if I can convince her to calm down and say please, she can get the whole cookie. Now, she has to work through her emotions and get to the point where she's making a logical decision on how to get the cookie. She can bargain for it. She can talk me into it. But the emotional response is I'm negatively rewarding that. And then I'll positively reward her thinking through the process. So I plan on doing that with just different things throughout each stage of her life so she can understand when she's in her emotions and how that negatively affects the outcome of whatever she's trying to do.
I like that. I love it.
I like that.
So I wanted to answer that from a woman's perspective.
Yeah, I'll go after Enos.
I had to learn this a little later in life than I probably would have liked to. And when I have children, it'll probably implement it a little bit sooner. I don't know that enough women are taught how to understand their emotions. Not necessarily the emotion itself, but using the emotions as a compass and not a driving force, right? Understanding like, okay, I feel this feeling. Why am I feeling it? What is it about this situation that's causing me to feel this? And having the questions behind the feelings instead of allowing your feelings to push you and move you like the wind, right? And I think that's probably the most important thing because emotions are such fickle and fleeting things that if you're not doing the background work to it, you're a slave to your emotions. Mm-hmm. And I think that's such a dangerous place for a woman to put herself in, not just in a romantic relationship, but just in life in general, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's so important to understand how to process what your emotions mean and not to move from a place of emotion, because being emotional is really crucial. That's the thing that creates that balance when you're in a marriage with a man, but not if it's out of control and not if you don't understand the magnitude or meaning behind it. And I think training that in women younger from the point where they're girls, I think will create powerhouses when they're older.
That was that's so good. And that's actually exactly what I do as a coach. And I wish more people knew about it. And what I will say is, in order to do that, something that I would encourage young girls to do, or what I would tell my daughter, is to know how to separate out circumstances from their thoughts. Because sometimes we get emotional thinking that, well, what our thoughts are, that it's happening to us, that it's a circumstance, it's a fact. But actually, when you can separate the two and recognize, actually, this is neutral, and how I'm thinking about it is why I might be feeling angry, that maybe perhaps this person, they didn't text me back right away, perhaps they're busy. Then I'm not going to get as irritated with them or think that something's wrong and get all worked up and, anxious. It could be something else. So when you start to gain that awareness, which your prefrontal allows you to do, and watch your thoughts, separating them out gives you so much power and relief in itself. And then, like Enos said, learning how to process your emotions versus reacting or resisting or avoiding, because oftentimes when we, when we get into bad behavior, such as drinking or over drinking or overeating or drugs or whatever, it's because you're not processing your emotions. You're trying to distract from them, and that's not doing anything because they're still going to be there regardless. And you're also going to have to deal with the negative consequences on the other side. So just great stuff all across the board.
So Marcus, this with me. So I love that example that you was given. So how do you transition that, right? Because your daughter's young now. So how does that same, technique would work when she gets in high school and she's 16 and got a guy that she's kind of liking? Like, now, how does that transit? Because I think for girls, I think we don't have those talks with our parents like we should, especially our dads, because we see that dads are very uncomfortable talking with their girls about boys and sex and things like that. As a mom, I had no problem telling my daughter like it was from a female perspective, but that's the only perspective that I can give her, is from a female perspective. And not just that, also through my own lens of experiences that I've had, which may not have always been good, or some were good, things like that. But for me, the biggest thing was trying to make a emotional situation logical, was having her write down things like what would she say she likes or would look for in a guy who she would want her to be her boyfriend. And so she would list those things down. And then I said, so anytime that you meet someone, look at this list so you have something tangible. Do they meet those things on this list? So then that way, even if you're feeling a certain way, when you're looking at the list, you can, have something tangible to see if it's just your feelings or if it's something legit. And even in doing that, that didn't work because her feelings overrode everything else.
So, like I said, I'm still in the process of doing it. But when I did it with my wife, I was able to understand that everybody in life has a breaking point. There's something that they want, and if you're the person that provides that, I like using the example that I used earlier with the young lady, right? Because she really wanted me to come over there, and by me leveraging sex at that point in time, I could have made her act or behave in any type of way. So you've got to figure out what their breaking points are all throughout life. So right now it's cookies. It's going to be a cell phone event. It's going to be time with her friends. It's going to be all these things. So everything in training is breaking something down from a baby step to create a larger picture. So I'm just going incrementally. That's why I haven't been spanking either, right? I don't know if we talked about this, but I was saying I'm not spanking my kids because I'm using alternative ways of punishment, because I'm finding out what they actually care about. It requires work, because you got to know what they care about, what's important to them, to then leverage that thing and show them how it benefits them to remove the emotional aspect out of it or to behave correctly, and then reward the positive behavior that you want to see. Everything boils down to negative reinforcement or positive reinforcement. A lot of times what we do as people is we negatively reinforce. When somebody is acting bad, you typically show them the most attention, right? Those people tended to be the worst type of people because they've associated this behavior with attention. So if your girl fights with you all the time and you give her sex because she's fighting with you, anytime she wants some D, she just create a fight.
Negative reinforcement.
Negative reinforcement. You just train this person that if they behave in a bad way, they will get the desired result. I think that's the worst thing you can do, and I think that's what most people do, because the opposite is harder. To actually stand on it on the line and say, "Nah, the way you behaving right now, you're not getting no D, you're not getting no cookies, you're not getting a ride to X, Y, and Z," and then standing on that, and then taking the effort to make sure you, when they are doing something, you go out your way to give them something. Like,
so one thing I want to touch on real quick.
That's
The other part of that
behavior.
The other part of that is having an actual relationship with your daughter, or with that girl, right? You got to have an actual relationship. As for a father and a daughter, you guys hear me say it all the time. You have to be an active participant in their life so that they trust you as they get older, because it becomes a lot less about some of those negative reinforcements, because you've said that earlier. Now it comes to, does she trust what you say? Does she trust what you've done so far? If she trusts what you have said and how you move and what you've done, then she'll be more than willing to come and talk to you, have a real conversation with you about how she's feeling and what she's going through. Like I said, it might have been the stream before the last one. My daughter refuses to have any type of boyfriend if they won't meet me. She refuses it because that's just something that we said early, and that's because I've been active and I've participated in her life, and I think that's a big key to it.
I love that. And I really, really appreciate what you've been saying, Marcus. And I just want to talk about like the other side of it, right? Because I think a lot of people are so focused on like, okay, this is the trouble kid, this is the bad kid, and they focus so much on that. And Marcus talked about that negative reinforcement, but the other side of it is that the kid who is behaving gets the least amount of attention. And what does that do? That circles back to what Shan was talking about earlier about why people manipulate, why people move a certain way, right? If you are growing up in a household where good behavior results in just no attention at all, your way of learning to survive comes through manipulation. Well, if I can manipulate the situation to get that attention, well, now I have what I need to keep moving forward, to keep growing, to keep surviving, right? It's not the negative reinforcement isn't just for the child who's receiving the negative reinforcement, but it's also the messaging for the child who's left behind because they are behaving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically the idea is to make sure that you are being focused on making sure you're reinforcing the behavior all around. Because sometimes even in like, I used to do ABA therapy, that is part of it in the classroom as well. Like you'll have certain students that may behave negatively, but you want them to behave, that replacement behavior to do whatever it is, right? Like they hopping around, but you want them to stay in their seat. That you do something that's called planned ignoring. So sometimes when they are hopping around out the seat, you don't even say anything to them. You go to the other students that are sitting in their seat and, oh, Johnny, here's a gold sticker. Thanks for sitting in your seat. Oh, Tammy, you're sitting in your seat too. So you're planned ignoring and you're reinforcing the other ones that are doing the right thing, hoping that the one that's doing the wrong thing will see that and want to be reinforced. So then they'll go and sit down so they can get the gold sticker too. So I guess as a parent, it's important to do that as well. So you're not ignoring those kids, that are doing the right thing, because it's a handful when you have a what they say, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And so sometimes the other kids are seeing that the squeaky wheel is getting the oil. So then they may start squeaking too, because they want some of that attention. So if you plan, to ignore some of that bad behavior and go to the other kids, it's like, oh, you know what? You guys are doing so great. You've behaved. You've listened to all the things I said, all of the things that the other kid isn't doing. You know what? Let's get your coats. We're going to go out for ice cream because
That's
you guys
That's me all day.
Are doing great. And then you leave the kid behind.
I don't know.
Yeah, because they're not. And then you have the conversation, next time when you're doing X, Y, and Z, you can come out with and go for ice cream with us next time. And then the next time they are doing that, make sure you follow through.
So that's one way to do it. And I recently saw this video and I thought it was brilliant. Where this child psychologist was talking about like two children in the same household where they have scheduled days to clean their rooms, and they work on like an allowance basis. So you complete your chores, you get a set amount of allowance, right? And so his thought process was, if the child who did not clean their room, you take a portion of their allowance and you pay the child who did clean their room to clean that room as well. So not only is it positive reinforcement for the child who is performing the behaviors that are necessary, but it's also a negative repercussion, not negative reinforcement, but a negative repercussion for their inaction, right? So there's a multitude of ways that you can handle it. And unfortunately, as a parent, like you just have to figure out what works for your specific children and their personalities, because their personalities really young, right? You have to figure out what works for your kids. But the idea is to, like, no child left behind. And I know that's become so cliche, but like you can't leave any child unattended with no attention at all. Like that breeds just as much negativity as it does giving the child who does not have good behavior all of the attention.
No, you 100%. So like my 1-year-old, she's learning to talk, but you know what she says, please, because her older sister gets ignored until please comes out. So she'll ask me 15 times before I hear the word please. I'll ignore her completely and just sit there. Then when I hear the please, I'll get up. And it's the same thing. Like the positive reinforcement and, like you say, the negative consequences. It just works. And it's not just for kids. It applies universal. It's even the same thing with jobs, right? When people get bonuses.
Adults, yeah.
It works. People take on the whole, well, I'm not going to reward you for doing what you should be doing aspect. That's one way of going about it. I don't particularly agree with that. I think if you're happy with somebody's service, tip them. If you're happy with something that, you know, she doing right, give her extra affection. If you're happy with what your kids doing, give them extra attention. I definitely believe in rewarding people. So I don't know. That's how I look at it. That's definitely how I look at it.
I agree.
Super chats.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, you've been a little quiet.
Super chats.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, Joey, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Note Valerie, $4.99. Just because you can treat someone badly doesn't mean you should. Remember, karma never sleeps.
Don't nobody believe in that shit no more.
Karma?
Nobody,
you know
like
who
nobody.
does? God does.
Nobody believe. Like you literally are going to say something about karma. They're gonna be like, well,
I'm not reading that out loud.
Miss Taker was getting the bottom.
Damn.
Was you on that stream where they tried to pretend like that's not a thing? So it's a lady, it's an old video where this lady was saying men know what they be doing when they hit the bottom. And when they, you know, some men, they hit the bottom and then you be falling in love and how you dickmatized. It was a stream and all the women on the stream tried to pretend like, nah, that's not a thing. Actually, it's my cervix. It hurts. I don't like that. Did y'all see that stream?
It's a service.
Yeah.
I
didn't see the stream, but yeah, that hurt.
It hurt.
No,
okay, go ahead, Enos.
I hate that I'm going to say this on the internet, but I'm gonna do it for y'all tonight.
It's Cinco de Mayo. No.
There are some people who understand the right amount of
pressure,
force, and rhythm where it is pleasurable, and there are some people who think that rap lyrics dictate what pleasure should be to a woman, and that really differentiates the experience that a woman has. So if you don't know what you're doing, maybe have a conversation before. And if you do, then try it out and have a conversation after to figure out if it worked or not. And lastly, not everything works for all women. So just gonna go ahead and say that.
It's true. I got a question. How in the hell do you make even the most vulgar things sound so professional?
You know what it is, too? Do you know how you can get a woman dickmatized? By being sexually considerate. If you are willing to learn that, oh boy, dudes got to be careful out here. Literally that fatal attraction thing, you can create that in that way to be, asking her questions and getting an assessment mid-experience. And, for some reason you can play up the level. That's just how you get down, but you're playing up the level of intimacy with a woman you may not be that serious with, yeah, she's gonna follow you around like a puppy dog, bro.
And build up, right? The build up, conversation and build up is probably some of the best ways to get the wettest, most intimate sex you go get, because you never mind.
Well, there was a study that was done like about like porn, and they measured like the type of porn that women like versus what men like.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot, it was very
y'all are nasty.
Like for women, it was saying that the ones that they like were ones that had storylines to them. Because it was the build up to the fact that it's just like a way of thinking.
I like beastly stuff.
That's what the study was saying, is that if it had kind of like a build up to what was going to happen, that they tend to like that more than the other ones. So
that's how their chemistry is anyway. Yeah.
Right.
Once they get going, then they're in the mood.
Guys, gentlemen in the chat.
So
don't do this.
I don't know why.
If you're not getting married to her, don't you do it. She'll pop up at your work and be like, yo,
first off,
explode all day.
We need to write a book. We need to write a book.
Okay, Inaz, I'm gonna let you talk, but Shantae has braided her hair, which means that
we need to write a book. First off, if a woman asks you during intercourse, why are you doing this to me? You got a problem on your hands.
So I just wanted to say that, like, I read this scientific finding. It wasn't really research. That it was like a result of multiple failed research. They actually really struggle to accurately measure women when it comes to sexual preferences and all of this stuff. Because even in like an isolated scientific study, the taboos and social repercussions that come from women being honest about their sexuality, like women have that abrasiveness. They have this unwillingness to be honest when it comes to that stuff. So they're not actually able to like measure what, honestly, on a grander scale, what women prefer and don't. So, yeah. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, I think like so comfort level, right? I think that's why that's one of the most important. Like, so men, we just like machines. It could be a wall, a hole in the wall, anything. I just seen a video the other day where it was like 15 little boys in a line waiting to hit a club, like a crackhead outside. He was like, "What's this line for?" And they all had magnums. It came in my Instagram, my YouTube Shorts video. I'm gonna drop it in the chat for y'all. It's crazy, but with women though, the ability to make them comfortable allows y'all to have those conversations, and then you can get to the point where even if she can't express it, y'all can look at porn and she can select which one she's interested in or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But you have to be comfortable enough with somebody to let they like you saying, to let they guard down. So I don't even think a test could do that. You have to ask a boyfriend of 5 or a husband of 5 years who actually paid attention to her body and the different responses, what she like. Comfort is one of the biggest things, I think, in the setting the ambiance to create the right vibe and the mood in order for that thing to go right. But I guess we can't get too explicit talking about sex. It's weird. You can talk about death, but you can't talk about creation of life. Something wrong with that.
That's profound.
Out here creating life.
Y'all be playing creation.
I'm just saying, it's a beautiful thing. All right. Get comfortable and get to the tantric stuff. All right, you were saying?
All right, after hours. Y'all can talk about this in the after hours. You know what I do in the after hours? I'll keep y'all talking. I just put it myself, turn my camera off, be knocked out, and y'all just put me to sleep like a little bedtime story.
That's my boy.
I turn my camera off and I wake up like, they still up. Okay, let me go back to sleep. And then I wake back up and eventually y'all are gone. You guys, I'm sorry you guys don't get to see the after hours. It's so entertaining. They just sit here and talk for hours about crazy stuff.
No, tonight's a go to bed night.
Yeah, I was about to say, y'all don't got me
going to
drinking.
bed tonight because everybody
Hey, look, I can't get on another stream and be drinking like that.
No, you can't.
I don't.
Me either.
Everybody was
Like, I'm gonna have to watch it back. I don't even know what I see.
Yeah, you were.
But Mike, last week you were funny.
I don't remember. Yeah, my son got the early game.
He was on the camera like this.
Oh
yeah.
Don't bounce. Sit your ass still.
He said, I don't even know what he said.
Yeah.
He talking about I was bouncing and I wasn't even trying to bounce.
You was bouncing. 9 to the 9 nines in the 2000s.
I'm not doing this with y'all. Not tonight.
9 nines in the 2000s.
Not tonight.
AP, I think your best episodes is when you drink though.
I have to watch this stuff back, bro. I'm like, oh no, did I say that?
I got a slight headache. I can't even lie. And I feel like I shared way too much, but whatever.
One of my students told me when I bring my hair back like this, I'm like Rosa Parks.
Nah, look, nope. Don't even say that, Miss Bacon. Because I tell my wife all the time, stop being shy, stop being modest when you won. You get to brag when you won. When you get the ring, you get to brag. It's all these other, you know what I'm saying? So
that's a fact.
You know, she moved here and all this stuff, and all these ladies like, you don't move nowhere for no man, you don't do all this. And so she still tries to tell the story all modestly. No, you can come out and be like, yeah, just what? And I won. So when you win the game, you get to brag. So it don't really matter. You can say.
So let me ask you this, Trigger Mike. Why do you think the men that I marry on YouTube, except for maybe Anton, don't express how good they have it? Like,
damn, that's a deep ass question.
You know, we have to save that for it has to have its own topic.
But he already said it. It's too late. Okay, somebody got to answer it.
Okay, go ahead.
I will answer it because it attracts even more women. You bring more people saying that out loud than you do keeping it to yourself. That
is a good one. That's probably
what now? See, a good topic, Tim.
I would love, let's do that.
You know what?
Hurt people, loving people, loving people, love people. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. I'd like
heal people, help people.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this, Mark. Let me put it down on paper. I'm gonna have to get some bullet points here.
Don't try to make that your show for tomorrow. Don't even do it.
Still a topic to a show, baby.
You got a lot of shows. Hold on. Everything is content. Say it out your mouth.
Hey, Shan, can you do me a favor before we after we read this last super chat on the way out? Can you show that Kevin Samuels video as the last thing that we showed today?
Which one? The one we hit the yellow on?
Yeah.
Okay.
What you eating?
Y'all need to share.
I just realized I drank that alcohol, and I have not had anything in my stomach. And my kids told me, Miss Pitts, don't lose no more weight. Your head is too big. I thought that was a fair assessment.
Wait, was they saying you gonna be more arrogant?
Like
they were like, no, your weight is good. Don't lose no more weight. Stay that way, because if you lose any more weight,
like your head or your ego?
It's like,
yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
No. When she loses weight, because that's when she's smaller too. When she loses weight, it looks a little. You just had her. You have to get adjusted to her head because her head starts looking bigger.
They say you got the more doc.
It does because she lose weight in like her neck and stuff like that, and then her head looks a little bigger. But
them hips don't go nowhere though. There's ain't going nowhere.
Don't worry about it, Mongo.
Yeah, that's what I told my wife. I said, lose all the weight you want. Just keep the parts daddy likes. That's all.
I just realized I just don't want to be sick. So that's why I was like, let me just put something in my stomach.
Sugar Mike, I can see you using that microphone in the house for foreplay. Yeah, baby.
You know what? I might be one of the wackest foreplay dudes in history.
Don't say that. That's the most important part.
No, but I don't know. Yes and no.
All right, who do y'all think put it down, ladies?
Marcus.
Out of these, I wasn't expecting nobody to answer. I was just joking.
Marcus, shit, Marcus.
Oh, shoot, she said that quick.
He got them long arms. He can grab me by the neck with.
I told you I need some food with the alcohol.
Y'all didn't even give me a chance to be like, nah, I'm just joking.
I'm just joking too then.
Okay. All right, Torrance Moore, 1999. I need $5 change back. Just kidding. Good show. Is there any more super chats? Let's read the rest.
You starting shit up in here, mistaken.
Search 87. Rest in power, Kevin Samuels.
Rest in power.
I was just joking. My bad.
I didn't know.
1999. I need $5.
Do you guys really want to end with the Kevin Samuels?
Yeah, give him the
What are they talking about with Kevin Samuels? What is it?
He was just saying, get your stuff up, get your
life together.
Get your life together.
Well, you guys, before you leave, I'm gonna try not to sound like I'm reading. Before you leave, get your lights up.
Get
a light on your way out.
Oh, who are you trying to sound like?
No, Marcus said the first time that I was saying "get your life out," he said it sounded like I was reading a teleprompter.
She had the Biden voice.
Oh, y'all wow.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for sticking in there with us. I don't know if I'm gonna sit here. I don't know if I want to play a video because then we have to wait it out and then push in broadcast.
It's not that long.
Okay. Thanks everybody for being here with us tonight. Here's a little KS to tribute, rest in heaven, hopefully. KS, and I say that to everybody, not just no. I love KS. Matter of fact, I'm here because of KS. I listened to his teachings, and I think that there was, I was a KS supporter for the most part. There's some things I didn't agree with, but for the most part, I think that he had legit, some of the things you were saying was legit. So, okay, you guys. Here it is.
I want her to judge you by your wallet. That means if your wallet's lacking, if your wallet ain't where it need to be, you're gonna take that L. Because it's time to grow up. And over here, size matters. How fat is your wallet? What is your wallet? It is verifiable accomplishments that we all agree are worth something.
Night, y'all.
Wait, we have one more super chat. One more chat.
Okay.
So Chai Shan, were you in the group? Obviously, no. Okay.
Such a hater.
Good night.
Shan would be the reason the group broke up. I know it.
Of course, because I would go solo. Hello. Anyhow, y'all my little haters. It's okay. Keep going.
You have like a
It's like my
Disney laugh.
students with the Rosa Parks little thing they had going on. It's all good. I can take it.
All right, everyone. Good night.
Good night. See you next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember, my birthday is next week. We're going to celebrate together.
We stop bouncing.
Champagne, your alcohol, tequila. What did you say, Mike?
Stop bouncing. Go ahead and cut off.
That is normal. They're not just here if I'm moving around. Like, they move too. So
my birthday next week.
Jan, hit your red button.
Yeah, I'm hitting it.